So should we restart? Okay, we're going to do
Yep.
a re-official.
Give
Okay.
us another, yeah.
Okay. All right. And the first thing that I did, the first thing I do want to do, because I actually am a little prepared, is just I'm actually going to address the camera.
Do it.
Starting from the beginning. So I haven't even looked over this. I wish I was a little bit more prepared.
You're just the right amount of prepared.
So, I'm just the right amount, and this is, it's good to document the process.
Exactly.
But figured we should start doing some intros and stuff. But, so, my name is Seth Lindquist. This is my channel, The Giddy Pessimist, and I also own SIRREL, the easiest way to buy life insurance. So today, we're doing something a little different. I have a new entrepreneurial business model that I'm trying to implement, and I've been documenting the process for over 2 years. But today, we're going a bit deeper on this process. On this concept. So part of this new entrepreneurial business model is really trying to use the audience to help build this business and actually legitimately documenting the process. And so today is actually, Evan's not even totally sure of this, that this is like an actual startup business meeting. And there's going to be, I'm trying to go on, there's going to be kind of a combination of this, because what I'm trying to accomplish, and I'm trying to talk to both Evan and the fourth wall. One of the things I'm really trying to do is, and it's a little out of order, but once I kind of get to this, and this is going to be a hybrid, we're trying to figure this out, because this is very different, but literally I'm trying to do a podcast and a business meeting together. And some of the things I really do want to accomplish, or just address, I should say, actually, let's get to it, is one, how do you actually run an effective meeting? And two, essentially, one of the big things that I'm going through right now is basically explaining where I'm at, and then trying to figure out this process of basically giving away a ton of responsibility and just recognizing. So that's kind of what I'm trying to do here. That's
forefront of your mind right now. That's a topic you're saying.
That's the thing that I just finally had this actual breakthrough of. I intellectually knew I had to put people in place, and then working through this next difficult step was, and this is a great transition. Just recognizing really the whole scope of that. And I'm reading this book that was recommended to me. It says 10x is easier than 2x, which is a great book. Dan Sullivan, and I really wish I remember the other author's name, because he's a great author. But they've come out with some amazing books recently. I'm actually reading, the first book I read was Who, Not How, which is specifically on this topic of, if you're going to build a business, it's about putting the people in place as opposed to the actual systems.
Interesting.
So there's another book in between this that I just started called The Gain, Not the Gap. That's a little off topic. But this last book really kind of made it very evident. And then also, too, these last couple weeks, so I officially got my onboarding for my SaaS, my sales process. I officially started a software company. I've got this onboarding document built, which was this was really, honestly, a pretty monumental step for me.
Easier said than done, by the sounds of it. We've talked a little bit about this, off air, and just over the past couple weeks, just so the listeners kind of are aware of this. It's very, this was not an easy feat for you. It sounds like it was just a lot more. It's one of those things you go to start on it and you realize, oh, okay, I just have to do these, fill out this form. Great. And then you get to question 3 and it's okay, have you done all of this documentation? You're what documentation is that? And then you have to go do a bunch of research on what that is, fill all that out. Once you finally do that, finish step 3, now you're on to step 4 of this initial step of 10 to finish this thing. And step 4 says, okay, now do you have this done? You're what is a graphical pie chart? I've never even heard of that. It's you just come across these random things. That sounds very intense. Just to paint a little clearer of a picture for people, this is the type of stuff that goes into creating something as large as you're creating, and not even creating just what you're creating, but just one small part of what you're creating. This is literally just the onboarding process for just the agents, for just the life insurance agency, and you're doing a multitude of things. I want to, since you're not going to be the one to say it because you're too humble, I'm going to be the one to keep beating the drum. You are doing so many different things, and this is just one small thing. So I can see why this is a hair ripping out situation of just holy crap, this is why people give up. This is why people don't push through on big things, and this is why it takes so much effort. Like,
and dude, you just painted such a beautiful picture, because on that, like, I think, you just explained kind of how deep this actually was. And once I finally got that done, got that actual, okay, the software is built, like, that was a very hard grind.
mm-hmm.
And admittedly, like, I've been out of my depths for about a year on every aspect of everything that I do. And
Yep.
this is a very much learning what you don't know situation.
Yeah.
But also, like, what I realized, and you painted such a great picture of, like, how far down it was, like, I am pretty far off of what my kind of main goal of,
Right.
This is one of these things. And if I actually want to accomplish these things, I cannot go that deep on these things.
Yeah. Right.
And that's when I realized.
It turns out.
Oh yeah. It turns
just
out,
by,
yeah.
Yeah.
And it was so, and I wish I could explain like how it went from like a head knowledge, because I even, I think we've been talking about this, I think for quite a while, of just putting people in place. You are the example of this too. You've been a huge part of this, which I actually will get to here in a minute.
Get to for sure. But even with me, it's not like I'm put in place in a sense of like, okay, I need somebody to do this role, Evan, just go do that. It's been like, I need kind of all this stuff done, video editing and production and stuff. Like, can you just handle some of that? But then I've kind of been overlapping in other areas, and it's a very interesting place to be, for me at least, helping out with all this at this level, because you've already got it from like A to N or something, this whole thing. And so to be able to see everything you've already done, figure out how to find where I can be valuable and helpful to get you from N to Q or whatever. And then
be careful what you wish for.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And then just like navigating all of that, and without like a very, very clear idea of what I should have had done or what I shouldn't have had done or what the priorities are. It's just like, you've made it clear. Your phrase from the beginning, your catchphrase has been, I don't know, man, I'm figuring this out. We're kind of figuring this out. It's like, I'm kind of building the ship I'm kind of designing the ship as I build it, kind of thing. It's just like, I don't know how I want this thing to look or how it will look. I have a general vision in my head, kind of thing.
And so on that, I want to kind of introduce you a little bit, so other people can kind of know. So Evan here, he has been talking about.
Glad you wrote this stuff out.
Yeah,
That's so cool. This is actually huge. Like, we have never. I don't think we've ever had a single discussion where there was an itinerary attached to it. It's always been free flowing off into the wind, and we just get. So that was my last little free flowing comment.
Yeah,
I'll try to keep them to myself.
No.
Stick to the script,
and so this is the other thing too. Oh yeah, so breaking the fourth wall again here. Like so again, I wanted to say, I know I said this before. Stepping back, I really am talking to the viewers. I really am. I want your input on this, because we are trying to figure this out. This is. Everything I have done for basically the last year, like, is brand new to me.
It's just off the fucking
figuring it out as I go. Yeah. And like, I think I understand some of these things that need to be done. I've done a lot of books, but trying to implement them.
Yeah. I mean, people should have an idea. Just real quick interjection. Mm-hmm. Like, you're not starting from absolute zero. Like, I imagine people who've been following you long enough up until this point probably know, or not, but I'd like to think people could pretty quickly understand, like, you have a business degree, you have a background, you have you've done a lot of this thing, so it's not like you're starting from absolute scratch, but with the stuff you're involving yourself in, and the scope of what you're trying to accomplish, there's much more new territory than there is familiar territory.
Fair enough. Yeah,
it seems like to me, anyways.
Fair enough. Yes. So I definitely feel I've started this business because I'm relatively confident in my business skills.
Yeah, right.
But these particular things, like, I've ended up in a totally different path than I was expecting as far as building a tech company, and actually, like, it started in insurance, and now it's actually kind of transitioned to including a software company and a marketing company. And recognizing too that, like, this thing that I've built, which I'm very excited about, and it's been very challenging because it's felt a lot like, am I just chasing the next possible best option? But now I have a very clear idea of what I want to get done. But I also, especially once I got that onboarding, because that onboarding process made me realize how big this system actually is. And not only that the onboarding process is so involved in and of itself, like that, if I have any success recruiting anybody, like that's going to be another full-time job.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my, I already feel like I'm about 6 people down. And so this was one of these things, and that was really hard. You haven't seen these videos. He's literally, they're done right now, but literally I've recorded about 5 videos in the last month, 2 or 3 in the last few days of like, once I got that onboarding done, it was really kind of this tough reality that I got, because it was like, I've completed this one job and now I get to start 3 more.
Right.
And there's just no way I can put more time and effort into this. Like, it's just, I am completely, and you know, so looking at that, it was just so, I think, obvious.
It's like a crude reality. We've talked about it before. It's like the video game thing. It's like, I think what you said earlier was like, I feel like I just beat level 1.
Yes.
Like I just finally beat level 1.
Yes.
I finally beat the boss and it was just level 1. There's a, you know, that's the way to phrase it. It's like, congratulations, bud. You did it.
Yeah.
Now fucking, you're not even close.
And
you're not even close. And you just, like, that realization was some sort of, was impactful in some way.
Oh, it was huge, because it was like, okay, well, this is like, it was so
much work to have only gotten.
Not even that. Because at first, that was my initial realization of like, there's no way that what I just did is going to work. And it was like, oh my gosh, like what? Because it was essentially, it was like, you look at this thing and you're like, there's no way. It's like, not only that, I literally have 3 paths I have to go up. Like, I physically can't even go up. It was like,
what do you mean? Like,
so like literally, so the way that I kind of looked at this, and this was in my other videos, but I have a little statue behind me, and his name, I'm pretty sure, is Sisyphus. It's the guy pushing the boulder.
Yeah.
And so in my mind, like that, I feel like I got to the top of this one mountain, and that was basically level 1. So I have a lot of visuals around this.
For sure, you have to.
But then essentially I'm sitting there, and it's like, okay, I'm looking at not only a mountain that is steeper, that is longer, that has higher elevation, I'm actually looking at 3 of them. And I was like, there's no... I was like, I can't do it this way. And so looking at this, it was like the options available and the way that I'm approaching this are completely incongruent.
Okay, interesting.
And that's super uncomfortable.
Right.
Of just being like, you know, because I've known this. I've even said it. I can't do it myself. But I was like, you know what? Until I find the people, I'll just grind through and do it.
Yeah.
I've gotten to the point where it's like, no, dude, you can't.
Yeah.
Like, not only, and then.
Which has got to be a hard reality to hit when you're so used to working and like being able to accomplish shit with just your own work ethic up into a certain point of life. Like, that's something that's totally unfamiliar to me as an idea, or like a reckoning one has to have. But I can imagine that's a very humbling moment. I think you've used that exact word. It's like, it's very humbling when you realize, like, holy crap, there is just so much. And I'm assuming you've also come to the realization, like, because I could totally see you going through the mental, not you necessarily, but someone going through the mental thought of like, okay, well, I see these 3 mountains. Maybe I don't even have to do those 2, because I could tackle 1. So maybe those 2 aren't even worth doing at all. But for you, it's like, no, I've gotten to this point. I know these 3 mountains have to be done. Well,
because I've tried to do, I kind of realized, you know, and stepping way back and kind of reintroducing these maybe to the people watching, I really realized, and it has taken months of basically working through and justifying in my mind of like, I do have to have these 3 things. I have to have a CRM ready to go. I have to have marketing ready to go.
These are what the 3 mountains are.
Yeah, these listeners. Are literally, this is what I mean by like CRM built. And then the actual like sales aspect of this. And I think I can put aside my own agency a little bit, but even so, like the organization behind these things, you know, recognizing, you know, a marketing company, a tech company, a management company. These are things where it's
that you're trying to build.
Yeah,
and it turns out you just can't run all of them at once.
And but they all have to be in place.
Yeah,
and I have worked so much to try to figure out how I can just do one and kind of put it on pause and do the other. And I have worked through that for months, and it just has become, especially once this onboarding got done, and I realized the task that was like, congratulations, your system is now created. You're going to need somebody full-time just to get people in if you're able to recruit anybody. And it was like,
yeah,
oh my gosh, no way. And so it was literally, it was like, no way. And then the conversation, just so you guys know, this dude has been, and we're about to get way deeper. This dude has been my video guy, but has evolved into so much more. But we've been having conversations about, he's been awesome about wanting to take on more responsibilities. But he's, what I'm about to do is kind of try to put into perspective what I'm trying to do. And I think you very clearly understand, like, there's so much to be done just on content creation, and that can be broken down into several different steps of old content, new content, and then just being able to get it out there. Like, that in and of itself, and I'm going to hopefully try to, put it a little bit more in perspective.
But you've already painted it pretty clearly, because you're not trying to just do this on like a minute scale either. Like, the degree of scale you're talking about is like up there on par with the Hermosis and the Mr. Beasts, and like you are shooting for the stars. Like, you are not, you're not settling for like, I don't know, I want to put out like one video a month just to start. Like, you're like, I want to just hit the ground running. And now that you've set that clear parameter, yes, it introduces more stressors, because it's like, okay, well, if that's what I'm setting for myself, I'm going to need reliable people and a team and a regular team. And I'm sure you're going to get to this, but like, just to illustrate it even further and drive home the point of how crazy of a situation you're in, you're doing all of this without any angel investors, without any fiscal support of any kind like that. It's just like, this is all just like, I want to be the very best doing a new thing, all these things at once, with basically just asking anybody who can help along for the ride kind of thing, with a promise that we're going to be the biggest and best thing in the future. I don't know.
Pretty much.
Yeah. There's probably better ways to put it, but that is essentially it.
Yeah. So I guess to summarize it in my way, and maybe to put a little bit of my story on it. Like, so I'm building a business in life insurance, and I came back to life insurance because I have a new entrepreneurial business model, and reverse engineered this to figure out where I could make the most time for my money. And I had some experience in life insurance, so I decided to do life insurance. Got back into the system, but I knew that it was very outdated without technology. I knew that technology was available out there. Got into it right in the midst of COVID, and the entire industry was shifting from in-person to telesales. And so as I got into this process, I just realized there's like just massive opportunities to take advantage of this. And so at first I literally, you said it, whatever it was, for shits and gigs. I just got my license for shits and gigs. Yeah. Shits and gigs.
Fucking that was Step Brothers.
Step Brothers. That's kind of what my initial thing was. And then I realized there's a lot of opportunity, and not just opportunity, like, and this is when I really realized, like, no, I'm an entrepreneur. Like,
Revolution.
There needs to be an entirely different way of doing this. Yeah. Like, and there can be now. And I feel like what I am trying to develop is very possibly that pathway to changing the whole thing. And so,
and even that, that in and of itself could be a huge undertaking, but you're also incorporating this marketing, like, all of these other concepts along with that.
Well, what I would actually say is, I think that once I've realized, okay, it's like, I've really bought into, like, this needs to be done differently. And I've recognized, okay, the only way to do that is you have to have technology that will allow you to actually nurture your customers well.
Yeah.
You should automate them, but also you don't just help them with one type of insurance.
Yeah.
And you have to actually care. But then I realized too that this entire industry is based on leads, and most of the people that are actually helping the clients are not generating their own leads, which is a little bit nutty to me. Just kind of from like a marketing and from a business standpoint of, like, you don't even know what anyway. I'm not
an outsider standpoint too. It's just like,
that was the thing.
You kind of got your license, got into insurance for a little bit, realized how shitty of an industry it was, and then you're like, wow, so all these people are paying like thousands a week for these things called leads. So what if somebody just made their own?
So to break forth, I had a little bit of experience in this industry before, and I knew it was trash. No training, no technology, absolute miserable principles, just shitty reputation that they completely deserve.
Yeah.
And so when I came back into it, I literally told my uplines, I was like, listen, I'm not listening to what you have to say. Because none of them were doing anything in tech. They were doing it the old way, dialing for dollars. I finally got into one with one organization, switched to another, and the only training that they even, like, they talked to me for about 30 minutes, and the only thing they said was, we spend, if you want to make a lot of money, the top producers spend $1,000 to $2,000 a week on leads. And I just immediately, I just said, okay, so you're making, I do the math real quick. It's like, okay, I know what you made last year. You did about $250,000 and you have an assistant and you spent $100,000 on leads. I was like, first of all, you didn't make very much money for a ton of work, but I guarantee you I can spend $100,000 and figure out how to generate these leads perpetually. And that was like, I'm not even going to move forward without trying to figure this out, because this is just ridiculous. Like, this is ridiculous. And if you can figure this out, that's the name of the game.
And that's the mind of an entrepreneur, like just seeing an obvious problem, removing yourself completely from the cycle that everyone else is in. Like, I'm trying to picture, like, how did other insurance agents in your same position not have that same mentality of like, why am I doing this? Like, I could start my own damn agency, get the leads myself. And is it just because, like, that's so outside of the realm of imagination or possibility for people?
I think twofold, and we are getting a little off topic,
okay,
but I will.
We don't have to.
No, it's good. But I think twofold, because I'd like to address this, is like, this industry has a lot of issues, and they say, and this there isn't a specific number, but the ballpark is 92% of agents do not make it through the first 2 years of business. So they fail out.
I don't know another industry that is like that.
And this is, it's insane. Yeah. But then the people that do, and so this is all, it's a pyramid scheme. But the people that do succeed, one, they can just grind mindlessly. They can dial for dollars, or they get to a point where they spend a ton of money on leads and they just leave a tremendous amount of money on the table, which is fine. Yeah. You can still do that. It's just not sustainable, and you're just leaving so much on the table. But I really do believe that you can make so much money on here that it doesn't encourage people to implement good business principles.
Interesting.
The people that do in this industry are billionaires.
Yeah.
And that was one of the things, actually, I'm going to go back to this, talking about an entrepreneur mindset. When I got in here, so this is the thing with life insurance agents. They get in here, and I've been told this, granted, my whole life, but it's like, you're overthinking it. But
look at you now.
So these
Who's
guys,
laughing now?
They'll tell me, they said, they're just do what other people have said. Like, people have already figured this out. Just do what they do. Yeah. And here's the amazing thing for me, though. These are all people that are selling life insurance, and they're working for a independent marketing organization. And the thing that is amazing to me is like, you guys don't actually realize, you're telling me to do what the people have already figured out, but the person that is making the most amount of money in this entire organization, that is at the very top, doesn't sell life insurance. He isn't in the life insurance industry. He's in the marketing organization. He owns an independent marketing organization that helps everybody else sell insurance. Yeah. So literally nobody in these organizations is doing what the richest person in this organization is doing, because they realize that's not how you make the most amount of money.
Right.
And that was that's kind of been this realization. As at first I was like, no, you're not doing it, because the person that started the business that I'm working for right now quit the other leading IMO and started his own. And so it's like, no, if you want to make the most amount of money, you don't listen to the people that are telling you how to do it. You do it your own way, and you start your own organization, and you become a multi-billion-dollar organization in a decade and a half.
Yeah.
And that's what this guy did, and everybody in the organization is like, just sell life insurance. It's like, that's actually not what the richest person in here is doing. That's not how you make the most amount of money in this industry. And
it's just like any job, like working at retail. It's like, all you have to do is scan the stuff at the checkout line and just take the paycheck and go. It's like, well, but that manager's like literally sitting up in the office with the air conditioning, not having to talk to customers, and they have a salary of like $200K a year. Like, what are you? Why are you telling me like this? If I just get faster at scanning groceries, I'll do better. It's like, I'd much rather just bypass that. You're telling me if I scan these fast enough, I get that? It's like, no, I think they did something else to get to where they are, kind of thing.
Yeah, because the whole training in this is like, buy more leads, call more people, and it was like, but what if I produced the leads and I didn't have to call any of them? Like, how would that change everything? Oh, it would literally change everything. And that's exactly, I was like, I think I'm going to try to figure that out. Now, granted, pretty simple in concept. 2 years later.
Still figuring it out.
2 years later.
And I know we might have gotten a little bit off topic with that, but I really do think like for a fourth wall perspective, and even in future content and everything, like this is something I've been meaning to tell you, but I really don't think you can overbeat the drum of like how shitty the industry is and how different you're doing it and why, because of how shitty it is. Like, that could almost be your tagline if you didn't want it to be so blunt or whatever. But it's just like, yeah, I really don't think you can overemphasize or we could over talk about that point about the fact that you were in it, you saw where it was, the status of it, where it was going, how COVID changed some things, and you're like, I see an opportunity, you know? And believe me, you're like, I know how bad this shit is, and I know how bad of a look it is and how much work it takes. But yeah, I really think for people to understand that, like, there is no overemphasizing that point of painting that picture clearly of really truly how messed up, behind, and just like not forward thinking this whole industry is, you know?
Yeah, and I know I'm gonna make some enemies, but that's actually like I
Good.
know, and
that's how you know you're doing it right.
I know that's actually literally what the latest book that I just said is like. You're gonna like, you're gonna have people. Ford, he literally Henry Ford had to walk around with bodyguards because the owners of other manufacturing companies wanted him dead because he was the one that introduced the 2-day weekend, and he doubled his employees' salaries so that they could afford to buy the cars they were making. Yeah, that's and they could have time to use them. And so he disrupted the entire industry. Wow. So I don't
know, people actually.
That's what I just heard in the book that I'm reading.
Wow.
So
that's interesting. But it is kind of one of those things. It's like when you're underpinning, and I have to interject just because I know, we're going to keep doing it. But we have a script, so we're safe. We're good.
This is the podcast part of it, you know, so this is...
And it is kind of a meeting, but this is just always what happens. But just on that note of disruption, do you know what Mark Cuban is doing now?
With the prescriptions?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Dude, I just saw his interview on, I think it was whatever the Trevor Noah show is. I don't know if... Yeah, I can't remember.
Oh, he quit. I don't think he's with Comedy Central anymore. Or he's going to separate ways.
This must have been an older rerun or something. Okay. It was like a recent post. It was like brand new.
Cuban's been on this one probably about a year now.
On the pharmaceutical thing? Okay, gotcha.
At least the idea.
So I didn't know that at all. But I was like, wow. And when I heard him articulate it and why he's doing it, he's like, oh yeah, people try to do this all the time. Like, smaller places have tried to do this, but they get bought out.
Yeah.
I can't be bought.
Absolutely.
They can come after me, but I'm like, that almost sounds like somebody with a death wish, like coming up against the pharmaceutical, you know, like, I hope you have bodyguards, Mark. The drug companies, dude, like I would be a little more nervous, but he's in a very good position, obviously. But talk about disruption. That's
good for him for using his money for good for him, man.
Exactly. I hope that works out. I don't know. I don't follow it at all, but I imagine it's got to be doing pretty well.
It pops up every once in a while. I think they're still trying to like get it built and stuff.
He said they're not even expecting to turn a profit for like a while.
Oh yeah, which is still fine. You know, well, when you have that much money, not turning a profit is a pretty good thing because you just you don't pay taxes. It's a negative tax burden on your whole thing. So
interesting.
It's like, that's a whole other like losing money. Some people literally create entire businesses. I wouldn't say create. Well, I mean, you can kind of create, but it's like you can literally just do it in such a way where one business, you just dump all tax burdens onto this and then you let it fail. Or, you know, like, oh no.
Dude, oh my God. Here's the little bing in the middle of the actual work meeting where we're talking about your life in progress, but the little bit of like business 101 class. Sometimes when you make enough money, you just start a failing business. That's fucking crazy to me. See, this is the thing. It's like, dude, it's like Hormozy talks about this too. It's like when you shift your mindset into like thinking how rich people think versus poor people think. And I love it, but I also hate it how blunt he puts it like that. But I think it really helps drive home the point of like rich people think this way, poor people think this way. It's like,
does he use the word rich or does he use the word, because I haven't heard it, but I would say the difference between wealthy and poor.
Maybe he says wealthy. And I think it is probably important to distinct those two. Yes. But he does say poor.
Well, poor, that should kind of hurt, honestly. Poor is...
but yeah, exactly. But that's what he says. It's like, he's like, and dude, I've had that realization so many times, dude, like just quick example, and then we'll get back on topic. Yeah. But like at work, you know, at the part-time job I work at right now, just like, it's it's subtle, but it's in the air. It's like people like, I went to the store and they wanted $7 for like a widget or something I was looking to buy. And they're all complaining like $7, that's ridiculous. Yeah. And this guy wanted $40. I'm like, you guys are literally talking like poor people. Like, this is crazy. Like, this is like it's like my eyes opened. I'm like, this is insane. Like, I don't This is not what I want. Like,
Yeah.
I don't want this lifestyle where I have to worry about money like that. Like, I don't know. And I realize it too, just in my own life. That's just how I've been brought up. It's like, do I want to go to Safeway or do I want to go to Walmart? It's like, oh, $6 for bagels at Safeway. It's like, that is not the right mentality to have. Like, that is not healthy.
Scarcity.
Like, yeah, you should not be thinking in like $6 versus $3. It's like, the millionaire never has to make those choices, even $100 to $500. I'm like, dude, I do not want to fall into that trap of that mentality. You know, even though I'm not obviously making millions of dollars, that is like a mental shift you have to like overcome. Not the best example in that case, but it is like, you know, it's like that Mark Cuban thing of like, yeah, I can't be bought, or like, I know how to start a failing business to help as a tax shelter it's like when you learn how to think in ways that rich people think, it will follow, kind of thing.
And I would even position it a little bit different, and then I do want to get back on topic.
Yeah, for sure.
But
it's the final little.
It's instead of like how rich or wealthy people think, it's literally like learning how to use money.
How to use money, yeah.
Like, and that's, I think, one thing that people don't
thing,
actually fully understand. And I don't, there's a much better way of phrasing that.
Yeah.
But learning how to use money is an actual skill that you can learn. And it's really not like that complicated.
Right.
It's counterintuitive, or it's counter to what you have been taught.
Yep.
Because, and again, massive caveat, like, this is coming from a dude that is, if you looked at my bank account, you would be telling me to shut the hell up. But at the same time, you know, but I do, you know, I think part of that is because of the mentality that I have of like, okay, that's because I can't focus on my bank account right now. I'm not going to go get a car payment. You know how shitty of a car I have.
Yeah.
It's because I'm not going to go commit to paying several $100s a week or a month for this, and then an added insurance on top. I cannot do that. I can be paying somebody to do something in my business.
Right. It's like you're thinking of ways to like you're thinking of every purchase almost as an investment. You're thinking of everything as like, what does it actually bring you? And you're not thinking about it as like a depletion of like a finite resource. Like for me, I don't think of money as like a finite resource. It's like, it's just out there in the universe.
Yeah.
You kind of just have to will it into existence into your life and not succumb to thinking that it's so tight and you have to, which obviously that's kind of a point of privilege. And at a certain level, there's some people who have never had that. But I don't know.
It is.
That'd be interesting.
It is. And
we could probably go down a rabbit hole with that discussion.
Yeah, we could.
But something for the listeners to think about, you know?
And here's yes. Yeah, we're not going to go
We can,
that.
yeah.
Yep.
Sorry.
Okay. No. Great.
I love that shit, though.
Yeah, no. So awesome. That was...
Now you guys know how we can spend 2 hours.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
Or if not longer.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And
not getting anything.
Well, I do think this is really valuable, but I do want to talk on the very specific aspects of this because, you know, so I guess I don't even know how to transition. So I'm just going to do a hard transition back. So talking about team building and recognizing, because we've talked a lot about tactics, I would say, you know, and how to do these things, but really where I need to get to now is like I have absolute finite time. And not only that, everything that I'm doing in my business, like I do believe that it's neat. I think it's relatively clever, but there's nothing necessarily like very new or nuanced about it. Other than perhaps my idea to actually do it and my vision to do it. But I think I got to that point when I got this onboarding of like, okay, not only can I not do this, but I really had to reflect and be like, what am I actually good at? What am I actually trying to do? And we talked about this a little bit, but like, and this is really, I do think these are the types of lessons you have to learn and transformations you have to go through to get to where I want to be. And because I do want to learn how to run massive, impactful organizations.
Yeah.
And I am not there, but I have to continue to like recognize that and throw myself into deep waters of not knowing what to do.
Yeah.
And right now, what it's so clear to me is like all of the things that need to be done in this business, not only like I am not the best at any of these. There are probably only a few of them that I'm even above average at. And that's from, you know, building a software to probably even managing to marketing to running meetings. And so just kind of recognizing that and being like, listen, I have been, you know, we were talking about me being a bottleneck. And I think from the way that we've been playing the game, like, no, I haven't really been the bottleneck because we haven't been fucking trying to play the game big.
Right.
I've been micromanaging you
Yeah.
and like, okay, little steps here and there. And it's like, okay, that's really cute. Now, if you actually want to get some stuff done, like, let's step back. And like, I think I'm kind of at that point now of like, okay, like if you really want to do that, like you've got to step way back.
Yeah.
And this book talks about focusing on the 20% of what you're doing. And basically delegate. And this is actually a really interesting thing, dude, because I have talked a lot about the difference between delegation and abdication, and learning. And this is something really interesting, dude, because we've also talked a lot about kind of the manager class and the working class, however you want to look at that, as far as basically independent workers versus people that need to be told what to do.
Right.
And this last book that I thought was, gosh, dude, and it hit hard. I just finished this one book and started another one, but he literally said it was like, entrepreneurs don't delegate. It was like delegating, and essentially, I'm going to butcher it, but it's like essentially delegating is just going to lead you to micromanaging.
Okay.
And this is something that I've really been struggling with, because it's like, okay, I really do want people.
Yeah, elaborate on that a little bit.
I know. I'm trying to figure this out because it's like, because essentially, like, I've had issues, you've known with my assistant before and my social media manager, as far as like, listen, I feel like I have to tell you what to do every single, like, I have to tell you next moves every time. And I've also, I have experienced a lot with this dude of literally being able to like, and we've worked a lot together, but getting to the point of like, hey, this is kind of what I want. And then you actually being able to just deliver on that by so much more, and then kind of being like, hey, what's next?
Yeah.
And recognizing
there's two different types of people in the world, it turns out. Or
and
there's some overlap for sure, but
there's definitely some overlap. But I think the skill that I need to be is like, dude, I have got to be the person that assembles these teams, and I have got to be the person, and so that's what we're about to get into, buddy.
Sweet.
But that's essentially what I'm trying to figure out is like, okay, I need to not just step back, I need to step out. Like out, like to the point of like, listen, if I'm gonna do this,
go
type
full
of stuff,
Henry David Thoreau and lock yourself in a cabin in the woods. Just be like, yo, this company's got to be able to run without me, and that's the true test of if I've built something good and working, kind of thing.
Step not that far, not completely removed, but in certain aspects of it, basically. And I think this is a transition. So a little bit of background on Evan. So we've been working for over a year together. I approached him,
dude. It was actually. Yeah, it was June. I like just scrolled back through our text all the way to the very first one where you hit me up the other day. It was like June 16th or something.
Okay, so over a year.
Yeah.
And I paid him.
Which we weren't really working the whole time.
Oh, not at all. No.
Yeah.
But I paid you a little bit of money to do some video editing, which turned into months of talking about stuff. Like, he spent way more time than that. And then it's just evolved into, this dude has just given like so much time. We have spent so much time doing this. Somehow we are in this position now in his studio. This is all of his equipment. This is all of his video stuff. The video editing that he has done, like, it's just been phenomenal. What you have done. He just got his license yesterday, 2 days ago. Insurance license. He got his insurance. So like, I'm doing insurance. Like, we've just talked about business, and he's been just phenomenal. And
it was a really easy, luckily, like, it wasn't even a sell for you, because I remember I came in and it was right after Hermosi podcast. He talked about how to be a rainmaker and how to make money really quickly just doing that. And I was like, dude, I think I never would have had the confidence to think I could do that unless I knew you. So I was like, dude, I think I want to do that. Like, do you think you could help me? Which, for those of you who don't know, just a quick explanation of what that is, basically just going to a business that sells high-ticket items or services like solar or chiropractors, I think, are the examples he gave. There's probably better ones, but and then just basically going around and creating small little marketing campaigns for a product or a service with a promotion or something, running a quick little campaign on Facebook, super easy to, and like, he explained the steps. I was like, dude, honestly, I think I could do that. Like, I really think I could go to a place like that, offer a little promo, blah, blah, blah. He talks about Hermosi, talks about how, like, some of the issues he ran into along the way, what he would do differently. So I came to you. I was like, dude, I don't know. Do you think I could do that? Like, is that something you think you're like, I'll do you one better. That's exactly what I'm doing. Why don't you just do that for me instead? With high ticket items instead, digital items. You don't have to be a shiesty salesperson. Just here, I'll send you a link to a class. Just take this class, get your license, and just do it. And it was kind of weird how that transpired. It's I don't know. I don't know how people typically get into the life insurance agency. It's usually probably a dad or an uncle who's rich. It's like, come on into this, and you join your family friend's dad's agency or something like that. Like I'm thinking of the rich type people who are, get into it. But yeah, very unconventional, very strange. And I would never have pictured myself doing that for any reason at all, knowing what I know about the insurance industry and just how crappy of a person you have to be. But if you weren't building the type of thing you were building, that's the only reason I would have ever even done that, Yeah. But it is interesting coming from a background of video production and like that's kind of my core competency, if you will. And just like, dude, just get your license for shits and gigs kind of thing. It's like, okay. Yeah. Sure.
So on that note, and I also do want to say, so we've been talking for like a year, over a year now, and it's very obvious you are very much, you have that entrepreneurial drive, spirit. And this is the other thing too, and he's also with this, he's been very eager to, he's been like, hey, what more can I do? Can I do this? Can I do this? So ready or not, dude, and we're going to kind of see how this goes. Like I need to, if you're, this is the conversation that I want to have. I need to figure out how to give you a lot more responsibility.
Okay.
And to the point, so you've talked about this before of like,
and you're saying you know what that looks like, or we're figuring out
we're figuring this out because the next 5 pages of this are job descriptions that I've already written.
Sick. Awesome.
So he said before, he's like, it'd be nice to have some like job description and this and that. But here's the thing that I've been doing, man. Like, and he said that, I want to learn management and this or that. Like, I have been bottlenecking this. I have been micromanaging too much, and you are more than capable of like figuring this out. And this also, this is a balance for me of the abdication versus delegation. But we have spent so much time just going over messaging, going over this type of stuff. But the fact of the matter is, there's no fucking way in hell that I am ever going to be anywhere as capable as you are with video editing, with visual type of stuff. And I just need to get out of the way.
Yeah.
I'm like entirely.
I see. I definitely see where you're coming from with that. I kind of might like, I know this is a meeting and it's like, we're trying to figure things out, but just my quick opinion on it. Like, I don't see, like I kind of place myself in like 10 years down the line sort of mindset looking back on right now and what I picture it looking like. Like, I don't necessarily think that it's been like, I don't think that this whole process has been hindered enough at this point for it to, like, I don't think you've hindered the process at all kind of thing.
Okay.
Like, I really don't get that sense. Like I truly feel like I'm really just now coming to the point where it would even make sense for me to have that level of responsibility kind of thing. Like I feel like it's progressing at a very natural, normal,
for sure.
As far as, I don't know, like the bottlenecking thing, it's like, I don't know, man, you've been doing so many things and I've been just trying to keep up and understand what you're really trying to do.
And I think that's,
Yeah. I do see what you're saying. It's like, I need to get out of the way, but I don't want you to be under the impression that I think you've been holding this whole thing back at all. Like, I think it's only now been able to, like, you've gone through a couple people that have tried to help out with this and gone on board. You've had to purge and you're still going through stuff with other people. You've tried to trust to help you build this stuff. And you've had, we've had just people come through that have just panned out in varying degrees of, reliability and stuff. So it's like, I don't know. And obviously you see this in a much clearer way than I do, but just, from my perspective, it doesn't seem that way.
Well, I do appreciate that. There's a reason that Pessimist is in the name of this. Right, so I do appreciate that. And I don't disagree with you. I mean, I think that I've been doing this as best that I can, and I think that I'm not doing a terrible job at it.
Exactly, yeah. That's all I'm saying, yeah.
I do. I appreciate that.
And I don't think, like I was saying, 5 years from now, you're going to look back and be like, oh, dude, we could have been so much farther along if, I really think this is pretty much, if not if not a faster pace than most people would have been doing this stuff at or progressing at. It's just right on track is how it genuinely feels to me. I don't know.
Good. I do too.
Yeah,
I kind of, like I do too. But it has taken me these last few weeks, probably month and a half, to just recognize like I am happy with how this has gone, in order to get to where the next step demands and where I want to go, it's got to be different now.
Yeah,
it's like good. This was done.
Yep.
Now we have 3 different mountains to climb.
Right.
And we basically each have to. We got to get to the tops of all of these so we can build this foundation again from here and build. And that's just going to get way more difficult. Not more difficult. It just is a different game.
Yeah. Right.
I don't play video games all that much, but like I used to, so I know. But like the ones like when you have to have a team and you have like a warrior and a wizard and this other stuff, it's like that's where I have to get. Like I am just one person that has these things.
Yeah.
And in order to do these next, it was like, no, we need somebody to heal, we need somebody to encourage, we need somebody to bulldoze, we need somebody to fly.
Yeah, exactly. That's a good analogy for
and,
sure.
And for me, it was like, okay, I can't be the one in the front just trying to like kill everything myself.
Right.
I need to get way back and be like, hey, I think there's a pretty good plan of attack, but I need to really start.
And there's value in going up high and looking 10 steps ahead.
Yeah.
And you can't really ever fully do that. Like there's only so high you can go and leave people below you, where you're still going to have to, unless you create a ladder for you to stand on where there's people below you kind of thing that can all manage the person below them.
Yeah.
You can only get so high.
Okay, great transition.
Perfect.
So, so on this next, let's try to actually go to this meeting. So this is kind of the slash. So I have a couple of notes that I just wanted to run over on just things that I have that I think is for a good meeting. And then I only have 5 bullet points. This is on like the 3rd page. And then 5 for how to delegate responsibilities. And so with having a good meeting, and folks, feel free to grade us at home on how this is going, because granted, trying to do a combination of this and podcasting, but also like we're trying to figure this out, taking on these steps.
Yeah.
But
and this is something you won't get on Hermosi's fucking channel. Is like his actual work meetings recorded.
Yeah.
That's another whole other part of this content that's different.
And if this is interesting or not, or if there's other things,
smash
like comment
that subscribe button.
I know.
We got to come up with a better.
We have got to. I hate the smash thing.
Oh, dude,
I hate the smash thing.
It's a joke now. I think.
I know.
People, like you can.
Yeah. To some.
Yeah, you're right.
Okay, so back to the how to run a good meeting. Have an agenda. State the agenda. Have a time frame, which I haven't really delegated. And this is something which I've completely not done, but the leader should speak last in order to not dominate the ideas. This was just a note that has been around.
Have you come across that idea in books and stuff?
Absolutely.
Okay, interesting. And just so the listeners know too, we have never ever done any of these things. Not once. Like this is all. This is brand.
I have in other meetings,
yes,
but him and I, we have very creative. Yes, I have.
I suppose I've been in meetings where like at the corporate level where it's very structured. I'm like, oh wow, this is what a meeting is. This is
and
but
so
it's almost like until you have more people involved, or maybe until it's a bigger thing.
I think it speaks to the leader, honestly. And I think that speaks, just quite frankly, and granted, we've been in a very different place. I mean, we're trying to build a tech. Oh, here's this other caveat that I wanted to throw. So meetings, at least this next one, talks about delegating responsibilities and income, tying. Okay, let me just jump to this because this is 2-part.
There's nothing else you wanted to say about how to run a good meeting though?
No, that's all right. This
just
is more for,
points,
And then, but the other one, how to delegate responsibilities, because these are the 2 things that I think are really going to be important for me and in this meeting. But like putting people in place, I think I got to go about this quite a bit differently on how to delegate responsibilities is like defining the ideal outcome, agree upon metrics to measure, agree on goals and timelines, agree on consequences for not meeting those goals, and agree on rewards for meeting those goals.
Interesting.
And I actually, before here, there was another thing that I was going to say, but essentially like one of the skills that I am trying to learn, I really want to find it because I thought it was kind of, Where is it? Two major aspects. Being able to delegate. This is, okay. Two major aspects of new skill sets that I need to focus on learning first. That is running efficient meetings and being able to delegate responsibilities that are tied to measurable outcomes, which compensation is based upon.
Okay.
So that is something that I think that's how you build. That is one step of how you build high level.
Yes. Anything.
So, yes. So here's the caveat that I wanted to show. This is something that's very nuanced about this position. Evan's not getting paid. So,
it's out there now.
It's out there. Yeah. So this is also
technically you did pay me a while ago.
Yes.
So I'm basically making $1 an hour.
Yes.
If we look at it that way.
Yes. But so that's also this, and that's actually just a very real thing to put out here because this is a whole, thing that
not getting paid in money. Let's say that. I'm not getting paid in the most liquid form of payment there.
For sure. Yes.
And you helped me, install my yard, and there's like the favors in barter economy, going
for sure.
on. But yeah.
But as far as like there is going to be that difficulty of nuance of like how to actually delegate these responsibilities and have them tied to specific compensation,
right?
Because at the very moment,
and there is no compensation yet.
And this is, there's another one of these things where it's like this is going to have to be a meeting that that is going to have to be established and figured out.
Right.
In the very, we're going to have to get that shit figured out.
Yeah.
And so this is kind of the start of like, okay, let's actually, like I really do, I'm trying to go next level. And there's other things too. I think they're on here on how to write a good meeting. You should always leave with next steps.
Yeah.
That's another one. I don't know how that didn't get on the list.
So that is 100% important. Yeah.
Super important. So have an agenda, leave with next steps. Excuse me. The goals that I would like to have of this meeting, which we're kind of, officially kind of starting into, is basically deciding what responsibilities, Evan, you can take on. Okay. And then really defining the next steps. And this is going to be, this is like genuinely, this is why I wanted to record this. Like, this is totally new.
Yeah.
Because this is a very new, this isn't even like a normal situation in a business where it's like a superior to a subordinate or a manager to a whatever. Sure. Of like, this is a tech company that we're trying to figure out, that we're trying to launch, and everything's going to be different. So, and this, I even put a little thing here, kind of basically what I think the responsibilities of a manager in a startup are. And so your job, and this is assuming, we'll move forward and talk about this, but like the job of a manager is to figure out how to complete a task as efficiently as possible. And then you create an SOP, a template, a job description, kind of whatever it needs. You need to document how the task can be done, and then you hire somebody to execute that role.
Yeah.
So that is essentially, and that's a little bit different than you would be in a manager in a different position as far as like the roles are already defined.
Yeah.
But this is a startup. So we are literally like, okay, we have to define all of these things. Yes, so this is inherently different than what would be in any other
job
meeting.
Right.
Yeah. This is a different job. This is for startups, I believe.
Yeah.
The other thing, so that is your job, but the other thing, absolute most important thing, and we're officially stepping into this, is building the culture.
Yeah.
Like right now, because we don't have job description, we don't have anything.
Right.
Other than we've spent a ton of time, and like the culture, that we've talked about is like culture.
That's another reason
excellence.
Branding is important, it turns out.
Incredibly, yeah.
We talked about branding a little bit, and we've been having a lot of discussions about branding and like how it makes you appear outwardly to the customer and the clients you're trying to attract. But I completely neglected to even mention or bring up the idea that it's also important internally. Like your brand is important for the people that you want to inspire. If it's like work ethic, hard work, whatever your messaging is, it's got to translate and be, like people at Nike feel a certain way about Nike. People at different companies feel a certain way about the company they work for because of the way that company's branded itself. Like,
you just said something this is just a thought, but it just hit me pretty hard. And this is not fully thought out, and I can't articulate it as well as I would like, but your culture is your brand.
Yeah. Yeah, it's part of it for sure.
Well, not even just, you cannot, like, if they have to be one in the same. Yeah. Like, you can't project this thing on the outside and have something very different on the inside.
Yeah. Case of Nike, there's like a million videos out there about Nike, a masterclass in branding. It's like, there's a reason they've done that. It's because, dude, like I got to walk around their campus last summer with a group I was filming, and dude, it is very apparent, like the carpets match the drapes, I guess is what I'm kind of getting. It's like, yeah, which I know usually means something else, but it's very much like you go in there and it's like, wow, like if you were working here, you would feel that sense of like, just fucking do it.
Yeah.
Like get it done. Yep. And it's like, it's inspirational, but there's like paths that you can take through this like nature park that they've created on the campus. But as you're walking through the park, there's these arches in there, and they have like inspirational words on the top, like overcome. And it's like a big mirror. It's like this big, beautiful structure. So you're just walking through this nature, it's all trees, but then there's this big structure that just comes out of nowhere. So it's just an interesting feeling of like something artificial and like man-made just emerging out of nature, but it just like hits you because it's just this big fucking arch and you walk under it and it just makes you feel a certain way. I'm like, oh, this is Nike. Like this totally makes sense. And it's like everything down to, and we've had talks about what design means and what that kind of stuff does. But yes, it ties into exactly what you're saying, which is like, yeah, your brand has to be, your employees and your managers, everyone within the company has to be on board with the brand as well. As it's not just for the people outside looking in, it's for everybody inside. Like, hey, this is SIRREL. Like this is like excellence or whatever it is, whatever the company is, whatever.
Of the list.
Okay, good.
Literally.
Well, is it really? I didn't.
It literally is.
Okay,
Building
sweet.
a culture is very important, and the one on the top of the list is excellence.
Yeah.
And I was going to go through. I had a little document of, and I need to go. Well, I'll go. There's a lot that needs to be done, but I have a lot of this stuff that I would like to actually come up with a documentation of what our actual culture feels like. But you know, I came up with 3 bullet points basically and they're basically kind of all restating the same thing. But excellence. How you do anything is how you do everything. And see a job through to the end. Complete the task 100%.
Yeah.
Like that for the next little few steps. There's a lot more that I want as far as culture.
For
Some
sure.
of these I have written down of like...
It's good to start with the simple things first and just the actionable things and then build off of that.
But just know, like that's going to be the, you know, without those, nothing else matters. Like we can't...
Right.
Because the other ones, too, that I love, I've actually thought about this, that I think are very important, are assertive positivity and aggressive encouragement.
I like that. Stubborn optimism is another one I've heard.
That's pretty good.
I like that. That's like one of my favorite ones. That's what I've tried to live off of, too.
That's pretty...
It first came up when I was...
It was pessimist.
Yeah, exactly. It was, yeah. Well, that's why we balance each other out.
Yes.
But it was when people were talking about climate change. It's like, what's it going to take to solve this issue? Any global issue. It's like, well, stubborn optimism, it turns out, is pretty helpful attitude to have.
Yeah.
Just like not willing to,
Nice. So kind of on that note, dude, so the next few pages, essentially what I would like to do, and
sorry, which page are you on?
Yeah. So we're about to get into all the job descriptions.
Okay, for sure.
We haven't gotten to there yet. But
Gotcha.
So essentially what I'm trying to do is explain these things to you because I'm going to dump a ton on your lap.
Okay.
Like,
but it is helpful. I'm totally fine with that now that it's written somewhere.
For sure.
Now that it's concrete in the world somewhere, it makes all this shit that much easier.
And so so certain things that we need to do, and this is a lot of figuring out, but like, somehow we're going to need to come up with some sort of metrics on, you know, like we were talking about before on how do I delegate responsibilities, is we got to define some sort of ideal outcome. We have to agree upon some metrics. We have to set some goals. But the thing is, dude, and I do think that part of a good manager's job is to push people into uncomfortable positions. I think you've asked for that.
Yeah. Oh yeah. 100%.
I think you're ready
totally,
for that.
Yeah.
And so literally, dude, you know, I talked about before of like, oh, you could be kind of brand manager. Honestly, dude, I think I need to basically obviously with my guidance.
We can always build it as it goes too. Like
no, we're doing that the wrong way.
Interesting. Okay.
No, I think that's what I have been doing is like basically micromanaging you and giving you little tasks. That is diametrically not what's going to work.
Interesting. Okay. Can you elaborate on that just quickly? Like why you've come to that conclusion?
Because I'm the bottleneck. You're too smart. You know this shit better than I do. You know video better than I do. You know visual better than I do. You know people that can help better than I do.
Yeah, yeah.
There's nothing you understand. That's the only thing that I have on this more than you. I understand the vision.
Yeah, yeah, right, right.
That's the only thing I need to play in this right now. And I have some business acumen. I can help with hiring. I can help with managing.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what I need to do.
Yeah.
My
right.
job is to get excellent people in place, to challenge them, to give them the tools to do what they can do,
Yeah.
and get the fuck out of the way. Like,
Right.
and that's what I want to do with this. And like these next 5 pages are essentially all of the business descriptions that I've kind of come up with. They're not great. They're not elaborate, but
it's something though, dude.
It's
like
something.
It's pretty.
Yeah.
I don't know. This is the right way, dude. Like that nobody else would ever do. You know. I think.
Yeah, so essentially you've gone through in my stupid printer. I highlighted these things, and I don't know why I didn't print them out. So I went through it. All of these, the social media manager, the video manager, the YouTube manager, I've highlighted all the things that I think are essentially those have to be done.
Yeah, right.
Just to get to 70% on all of these things. And you've talked a bit about like knowing certain people. I don't even know the title. We can kind of come up with it, but dude.
Yeah. Because until all of these job descriptions are filled, I'm doing all of these is what it means. Yes,
yeah,
I see what you're saying.
You're
I understand
responsible
now.
for
all
of
5 of these pages. Yeah. Okay. Gotcha. And okay, good. Yeah.
And
yeah.
So with and you've talked about dudes that you know that you might be able to talk to, and like, dude, I'm happy to help on that, but dude, I need to step back.
Yeah.
And the other thing, so kind of what I would like to start talking about, because quite frankly, I mean, this is overwhelming for me. So like, I know that it, I
mean, just the fact that you wrote these, like, this is even something that, I don't know, realistically, like, even I should have done, like, I should have wrote these out. If we're talking about doing it the right way, like, I should be writing these out, like the social media descriptions or
That's now your responsibility as a manager of a startup is to write these things.
Yeah. And you've already gotten me halfway, so I can't even.
I've got your toe in the door.
Yes. Right. Right.
And so essentially though, dude, because here's the thing, man, you were talking about like, I don't know. You're like, I'm having kind of a hard time seeing, all the work that needs to be done.
Yeah.
I'm kind of hoping some of these little highlighted things, like, they
are
help. Pretty deceiving on how much, like, one of them just says, create content.
Keyword search.
Yeah. Create content from decimal system. That in and of itself is probably an entire part-time job. Like, that is what I mean. That was all of those posters that we've been creating. Mm-hmm. That's like the beginning step of that one line.
Right, right.
So like understanding, and there's so much more that needs to be written down, but like understanding, we were talking about how much content that we wanted to create.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's your job.
Yeah. Figure it out. How much needs to be created and in what capacity. And,
yeah. And
gotcha.
Because we're at the place now, dude, like we're sitting here and not, and the reason, like, I was kind of getting panicky and, I don't even know, because I wasn't able to really articulate while I was in it the feelings that I had. But, we're coming up with content, but at the same time, like, I'm not even recording new content on nearly the scale that I would like to.
Yeah.
And so, like, we're really not in the grand scheme of things. I don't want to say again, I'm not looking in the gap of where we need to get, but we need to take leaps.
Right, right.
We need to take leaps.
Yeah.
And I can't do that myself.
Yeah.
And quite frankly,
neither can I.
Yeah.
Neither can even if it was just both of us trying to do all this shit.
No way.
Not a chance.
No way. And dude, this isn't even,
this is not even complete.
This isn't even the business side. This is just the media side.
And I was literally just going to say it would be helpful almost maybe to me, and we can talk about this more in depth at some other point perhaps, but it'd be helpful for me to have a clear picture of like what things, if this makes any sense, what things aren't my responsibility.
Yeah.
Just so I can see where my responsibilities fit into the bigger picture kind of thing too. Like I would love to see how the system works, because I know we've had discussions about everything as far as...
You said you wish that you had a list of responsibilities that weren't yours. Is that what you just said?
Yeah, maybe a better way of wording it is like, what are the other parts of this whole machine to make it work that I shouldn't have to have any involvement in? You're like, I'm going to take care of all this. Okay.
Workflows, sales.
Interesting. Okay.
Literally. So what I would like you essentially, and this would be kind of come up with any type of title.
Yeah.
I would like you to be basically like the digital manager.
Right.
Things that need to be created, because there are other things too in here that we, and I have a lot of SOPs. I have a lot of templates already created.
Right.
And like, I can help you through that, but you know where they're at. You can look into them. But like, so there are certain things, and essentially, dude, I want you to figure out
all that shit.
Kind of, well, what I want to figure out is I want you to go through the same thing, kind of the same process that I am going through of like you figuring out your 20% in this that you're really good at, that you are better at than others, and get the other 80% delegated.
Yeah.
And if and it sounds like you have some of those people, but
yeah.
So that's a part of this as well. And
so maybe not final question. Obviously there's going to be more, but main thing for me to know is what I need from you is what resources do I have at my disposal? Obviously physical things, content, another thing being money and compensation, to get some of these things done. Like I just need to know what toys I have in the sandbox before I know what kind of sandcastle I can build and how big and how quickly I can build it, kind of thing.
That's a good question.
And it's fine if we don't know. Right.
Very limited.
Yeah.
And here's the thing, though.
And on what time horizons are these things?
So on the time horizons, dude. So seriously, like, I would love you to start working 60 hours a week.
Yeah, for sure.
So legitimately, dude, like, fast.
Yeah.
Like, I would really like, at this point, because you said you have certain people in there. Like, I would like you to start.
I mean, yeah, I'm definitely starting to talk to people, and seeing what kind of stuff they can do.
And part of this too is you come back to me and tell me what people need.
Right.
If there's a way, because there are also certain things too where, because I've flirted with this is literally what I am trying to figure out.
Yeah.
How do I build this team?
Yeah.
Because like I'm hoping that you find very special people, and I expect us to have a lot of other conversations as far as hiring.
For sure.
But as far as like the type of people that we need right now is people that are eager to learn, people that can, you understand what we're trying to do.
Yeah.
I think you can articulate pretty well to other people, and like your buddy with the AI type of.
Yeah.
Like these are the types of things of like, hey, hopefully the team that we create, dude, and literally, man, we just got to get over this stupid stinking hump of a tiny bit of income. And that's the other thing, too, of like, I can't continue to do this when there are other things. Like, I could be pursuing funding right now. Like, there are just too many things for me to do. This is not my core. So, like, there are other problems that I need to be solving of like, maybe, like, capital is a massive issue, but there are many ways to go get around that.
Yeah, right.
And even too, like there is options of profit sharing. There are other things too of like, if you know people that are pretty competent that might not need the money and be like, hey, can't pay you right now, but if this was your dollar amount, like we can pay you that and a half in a certain amount of time. Because what I'm trying to do too, and this is what, and these are the skills too, that, because basically a big part of what you're going to have to do is like, you're going to have to start hiring or building a team or telling, or, figuring out you basically being, these are the things that we need and showing me like, this is how we have to get, this is what we need. I need you to get the resources for this. But going back to this, like, this is going to be huge, is figuring out, gosh dang it, where is it? It's on the first page somewhere. This line of being able to delegate responsibilities that are tied to measurable outcomes on which compensation is based. Mm-hmm. So that right there, like we need to start figuring out that way of like, if we either hire people and it's really simple, we can just say, hey, we hire somebody for a video editor, or there's a certain situation where it's like, hey, dude, I need you to be able to, and I don't know, this is literally like the stuff that you're going to figure out, or is you might know somebody that, can do video editing, can put in the, all of the titles and all whatever this stuff is.
Yeah.
Or even, gosh.
Like a real example of like what somebody, how much time somebody has to.
And okay, so I'm having a hard time, and this is it's going to be a little challenging on.
It's going to be a figuring out thing.
It's going to be a figuring out.
And I can kind of give you a sense just to help you, just to help illustrate some things and give you a sense of what I know, too. So you have a sense of the resources I have. So I basically have I have at least 5 people.
Can I time out?
Oh yeah.
The other thing too, because I had an idea on this. Some of the people that you have mentioned, like I think your buddy Alex and this other stuff. Yeah. If there are other things too, because I know like Alex, I think is trying to do his other business. If there are certain things like if you think it's valuable to them, I can absolutely come in and be like, hey, you help me with this. Like I can help you on your business type of stuff.
Yeah.
Like I can probably have a few conversations. I don't know specifically, but like.
Yeah. Well, it's one of those things where like I could. So yeah. Let me.
Yes.
That definitely is something that I do want to pitch to people is like, okay, here's what I can offer. Here's what between Seth and I, we can offer you other than money up until a certain point. Like I have the studio space you can come work at. I have my video equipment. I can help you with your stuff. Business coaching, all of these things. Where I'm at is let's just give a real world example of how I see this going. And we can kind of brainstorm / workshop / think tank it. Alex, just as an example, his situation, I could totally see him being like, yeah, dude, I'm super down. Like I can, I have a little bit of time in my evenings, blah, blah, blah. I could do a couple of videos. I could maybe give you 10 hours a week or something. Don't worry about money for now, but, it'd be awesome to make like $20 an hour once I can. So that being said, he tells me something like that. I come to you, say, okay, I can get 10 hours a week from this guy, but he wants $20 an hour, at this time horizon. And I know that it's my responsibility. If he's saying that's what he's willing and able to do, I need to make sure he's giving me 10 hours a week up until until we can afford to pay him more. What makes it not necessarily complicated, but just like a variable is like, I think it could totally be valuable for you to give him some business coaching because he wants to do wedding videos and that kind of stuff. Or just general other stuff he needs help with. But I could also totally see being the case, like him just saying, well, dude, like, I don't know if this takes off, like I could just work for Seth full time and I don't even need my own business. I could work 40 hours a week for $20 an hour instead kind of thing. So at that point, he doesn't need like, that's not necessarily valuable to him or something.
Yeah.
So yeah, I could, that's just one example of where I could see it going. In the case of Jesse, for example, this is just helping me think out loud of how these things might go. He has a full-time job, working at Lithia. He doesn't have a computer at home he can ever work at, really. He doesn't have a reliable anything to work on his own time. So he basically can only work when he doesn't have Lithia work to do or his own video stuff he's working on. But kind of the same thing. It's like, dude, you could make $50K a year being my visual effects, like main chief editor, because I'm doing brand. Like that's my main thing. You could be the lead editor in charge of Alex. Cause I think Jesse is somebody who's perhaps more capable of something like that, having a small team underneath or with him. And he's more like the supervisor. Like, dude, I could see you doing that, making $80K a year or something. How does that sound? And he'd be like, oh, dude, that'd be sick. Yeah, I don't even need to do any other video work kind of thing. So it's like, depending on how, I mean, it does sound like all of these could potentially be full-time jobs among the 4 or 5 people that I could talk to. But it's weird because up until the point where we can pay them, I could probably only get 5 hours a week out of them and, or whatever it is. But I can totally see coming up with some of those benchmarks, some of those, I can't remember the term that you used.
I think it's just maybe metrics.
Metrics, yeah. Coming up with some of those metrics, I'm like, all right, dude, Jesse, if you're down and I can promise you whatever amount you want, depending on what Seth can do and whatever, I'll talk to him. Like if you can give me 5 hours a week, just banging through this podcast content for now, like we'll just keep that going. And then we'll touch base a month from now or something like that. Like if that's cool with you,
bro,
that's exactly what you're picturing.
And here's the thing, man, is what I want. I think that's great. I think this is almost beyond great.
Okay, cool.
But also too, what I'm trying to tell you, man, is it's like these are your decisions.
Yeah.
Like I know this is sure. Like that
does help because
these are your decisions.
Yeah.
I need to get the fuck out of the way.
Yeah.
Like legitimate, and honestly, dude, everything that you just described, oddly enough, is like almost bringing like tears to my eyes because like there's nothing cooler than like that actually, and those numbers too. If this works and the content that we're creating, like throw a 1 in front of those at least.
Dude, I was literally just gonna say like I don't know to what extent it'd be helpful for me to have like, hey man, I'm like, even if it's just Monopoly play money, it's like, dude, I'm giving you a budget of like $600K a year. Figure out how to divvy that up amongst all the help you need or something like that. Like, I don't know if that'd be helpful to establish early on or later on. Or
I'm not sure I'm following you.
If you and I had a discussion like, dude, everyone that you need to hire for everything in this packet that needs to be done, like I think the business could be paying $600K a year.
Oh yeah.
So figure out, and now it's up to you within that frame, like give me some kind of parameter. And again, I don't know, that could be something that I could figure out because I hear what you're saying as far as like an overall budget for the entire branding / content.
Are you asking? So I'm not. Are you asking me to give you that number? I'm not.
Yes.
Okay.
If you can, but if not, it's fine. But if you want me to come up with that number, I could do that too.
I would say, yeah, at that point.
I just have no idea. Like my sense of scale of big numbers.
I don't know why. I'm not sure
important.
why you're why you're at that level at that. I'm not understanding necessarily how that number would help with this.
At this point, probably not as much. Yeah.
And
that's definitely true.
And I think the other thing too, just so you're kind of aware, like, dude, if things work and if this is actually like the way that and I think maybe this is a little bit of a reason of like, that's not how my mind works.
Okay,
like,
interesting.
The capital is like, it's just, that's almost, it's like, how much does this weigh?
Yeah.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
Like, it's like, what is it going to take? It's like, okay, that's just the number.
Yeah.
So in that way, like, for me, obviously right now, that number is 0.
Right.
But here's the thing is like, okay, assuming that this works, and this is the heart of all of this stuff, is it's like, it's self-perpetuating.
Yeah.
And the other thing too, so like all the money, like is getting dumped back into. So that's kind of this other thing too. Oh, if something takes off, congratulations. Like, how do we spend this money to make more, to do this more? So it's going to be
constantly building and changing.
Hopefully. And I don't know if that helps at all.
No, honestly, all I was asking was like, I didn't really word it the best, but it was like, would it be helpful for you to give me a number? Would it be helpful for me to have a number? Would it even be helpful to even think in terms of numbers at this point?
Probably, unless the number is like, we can't get it done unless we have these things.
Right.
And that's absolutely
Which if that comes up, I'll tell you.
And that will. And that, like, this is just step one. Like, there's very much in the future of being like, hey, I want to create all this stuff. You're like, okay, well, we need all this stuff.
Yeah.
We need these lights. We need these cameras. I don't know that stuff.
Right.
And so that's kind of basically what I'm trying to do is legitimately, like, there are absolutely certain things in this aspect that I am good at, that, when it comes down to numbers and planning, I can jump in and figure all of that stuff out. But everything else,
yeah.
So I would say the least of other than getting people in here that don't
figure out
even worry about numbers.
Right.
You're a creative guy.
Yeah.
And definitely in this, so getting the people in there, and I also understand talent costs a lot. And this is something really interesting. And I'm so glad, man, these books are absolutely what I need right now, because one of the things that he said, and this was like I didn't fully understand this fear, because I knew damn well of like the way that I want to do this business and the way that I want to train people, like they're going to be unbelievably valuable. Mm-hmm. And quite frankly, they're going to have every opportunity in the world to go work everywhere else. Mm-hmm. That's scary and awesome, because like that's kind of the risk in it. So my expectation is I'm hoping through the system that we train people, that we give them all of the equipment that makes them unbelievably just amazing at their job. Mm-hmm. And then it becomes the job of like, I got to just keep you incentivized. And like, you are worth so much money, I can pay you gobs of it.
Right.
And that's literally what I'm trying, like, so.
That's the goal.
Yeah. So the money aspect of it, the better we get, the more it's going to freaking cost.
Yeah. Right.
Which is a beautiful thing. And it's almost but it's also scary because it's like, I expect to build a world-class digital production company. That's essentially like the start of like, this is going to happen to do what I want to do. So in that aspect, and that comes down to incentivizing people and paying, tying their compensation to, and so if you do really well, you should get paid really well.
Right. Yeah. And you could, and the other, it's not even a but, it's just like some of these people that I'm picturing are people that I could see more in an employee role rather than a manager or supervisor role. So if it's, if it makes more sense for me to not have to worry about numbers or any of that, and I can just go off my instinct and figuring out based on these lists and the lists that I develop and come up with too, what I think they would be best suited for, and if that's all I need to do, then,
So essentially,
as long as for right now anyways.
Yeah. And these are the types of things too I'd love to have. And, we're going to have to figure out, how these conversations go. Dude, this is so exciting for me, honestly, man. Terrifying,
man.
But exciting. Essentially, like, those are the things, when you need help on those of the, like, how do I structure this? But what I would really like to do is just kind of, your department or what you're doing, like the numbers.
That shouldn't even...
Not right now.
Yeah.
We will figure that. That's just a byproduct. We're just getting a quote of what it's going to take to build this, what we need.
Yeah.
Oh, there was something else. Well, the next few steps that I would suggest that you take as from the managerial step of this is you got to kind of figure out what your 20% is going to be.
Yeah. Okay.
And we figured out a lot of this stuff. We haven't even really cracked into all of it, as far as like the old content. So what I would expect you to do, and unless you have people in here, like if you know people, if you're relatively confident that you can be like, hey, if you can abdicate and be like, hey, here's all of this old content. Here's an example. I need you to get close. And this is the skills that you're going to have to start learning.
Yeah.
Who are the people, who are the managers, and who are the employees?
Yeah.
And with the managers, you can kind of, like, obviously, this is a learning experience, but, like, you might just be able to throw them a job description and say, figure it out.
Yeah.
Here's the content. I know you're capable. These are some parameters. Let me know when you have questions. Figure it out.
Yeah.
There might be other people where you got to write it out. And if you're...
and dude, I'm totally willing to figure that out, person by case kind of thing. Like,
obviously I would try to start with the managers, to, and here's kind of the rule.
That is actually a helpful tip, kind of build it downward.
You might as well. That's what I'm trying to do. And again, this is all, I hope you guys are enjoying this because this is as
crazy.
Real as it gets.
This recording is going to be gold 5 years from now.
Dude, this is as real as it gets because this is not typical.
No.
Like these are not typical meetings. How do we build a team with no money? Like
how do we pay people? Yeah, how do we build a team and get things done without any resources?
Yeah, and this is what I've been trying to do for somehow you have stuck around, so I know in some way
at least for
it's
now,
doable,
until I just throw in the towel and say, you know what, this is too much.
I have a feeling though. I am hoping that this next step.
I've come too far, dude. I took the test. I passed the exam.
I know.
Now it's just like I'm in too deep now. There's no point.
I know. Well, now hopefully it's really time to step up. So that would kind of be my suggestions. I think it probably wouldn't hurt, even maybe just for the recording. To go through this, I'll read through at least just all of the highlighted ones. There's definitely some overlap. Sure. Yeah, we might as well. And then maybe what we can do is try to figure out.
And you're okay though if I add to these, edit these, change these.
This is your job.
Create new. Okay, gotcha.
Yep.
This is literally just you helping me out, basically.
These are the things that I already had. I told you before. Like
you did have some of these already. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I had all of these. I mean, literally all of these were already there. Okay. So, and there's more that needs to be added. But yeah, this is the beginning part, and this is literally me trying to just legit and this is very difficult. But at the same time, it's extremely exciting because like you're very competent. You're very capable of doing this. There's no detrimental mistakes, that can happen. Like there's nothing. It's pretty low risk, high reward.
Yeah, that's the perfect place to be, honestly.
For
the person with nothing to lose has the most to gain, kind of thing.
Totally,
like
dude.
You're in the best possible position. Yeah.
And we've spent so much time. Like you are very clear, and granted, it's gonna, a good working relationships takes decades and years, but like we're taking good steps. You know very well what I'm trying to accomplish. I've spent a lot of time with that. It's time to leverage that time that I've spent and to start teaching you the skills you really want to learn.
Yeah. And another question I have for you is, for each of these job descriptions you've given me, do you need a different person for each channel? Is that for me to figure out? What this was,
I don't know. What?
Is that for me to figure out too?
Yeah.
Like I'm totally willing to.
Yeah.
Okay.
Exactly.
This is helping.
Dude, I'm basically done
with content.
I'm basically done.
Everything under the content umbrella.
Yes.
Okay.
And we can definitely. There probably needs to be a little bit more defining, but I'm legitimately like trying to remove myself entirely.
Okay.
Because I have a pretty clear vision, but dude, you are just better at. All of the actual core competency aspects.
At the very least, it's just like you have so many other things to do on the sales.
And you're better. Like I have no problems with that.
Yeah, I don't know. Like about these, like, hey, the audio could have been a little quieter here. It's not like you don't know this stuff.
But that doesn't mean. But still, I mean, I know very well. I know much better the vision.
Yeah.
Like I don't know the people. I don't necessarily know the best way of doing this.
Right.
And so,
there's no point in me bringing you into every DaVinci session for every editing thing. It's just like, dude, that's not the way to scale.
And
like,
dude,
you can't be.
The videos that you pop out are like better than I would know how to do. So it's like, what the fuck am I doing?
Yeah, trying
like
to
legitimately, there will be certain things where like, hey, audio's a little loud, or and I will continue to do those types. I will always.
Mr. Beast always checks.
Oh
like,
yeah,
he's not watching every editor, but I bet he QCs every video that goes out still.
Oh, dude, they go, and I'm still not through the YouTube formula, but dude, we're gonna go. Like I said, man, I know this is just kind of the beginning. Like once we actually get this shit going and get a YouTube manager, dude, these guys are test like several hundred different thumbnails.
Yeah,
like there's
that's what you're
so
trying to do.
much, dude, and all of this stuff that you're gonna do, like I want you okay. Again, I'm going to figure all of this stuff out, but I need you more of like, I'm going to need your knowledge when we actually start creating new content.
Right.
We're still living in the past.
Yes.
And barely crawling forward. Yeah. And like, I will never 10X that way. So it's like literally like, okay, gloves off, doing this differently. Don't ask me for shit. Yeah. Go figure it out. Like, get it done. Yeah. Like we got to get this old content, man. Like this is just ridiculous.
And I know you had said the CRM, like I don't need to worry about that. As far as posting everything, is that part of my umbrella as well?
It's going to be, and I, and
so
there
I need to be able to have access.
So here's the other thing too. I'm glad that you asked that. There are, again, I'm abdicating all of this for you. So part of your job as well, I think, in this, and this is a great question of
tell you what I need to get my shit done.
Exactly. Yeah. And certain things of being like, hey, like I either can't do that or this doesn't feel like this is the realm of something that I'm doing.
Gotcha.
What I would really like you to do, although, and this too, what I would like you to mostly focus on is the creation of content.
Okay.
I definitely, a huge part of this, the social media manager, is getting it out there.
Yeah.
That is,
but I don't necessarily need to.
You don't need to necessarily have that figured out.
Okay.
But we have to get that figured out. Yeah. And I would definitely, if you know people, start.
Send them your way.
That's a big part of this too, is like figure, your network of people or whatnot. Yeah. Like,
even though I don't need people under like this guy Ian I was telling you about, I don't know if he'd fit under my umbrella necessarily, potentially, but I still love to bring him to you because maybe you can find something for him to do over here, and he's not even in my department. Kind
for
of thing.
sure.
Gotcha.
Yeah. So any of that
Just
type
feel
of
free to-
stuff.
okay,
Yeah.
cool.
So literally, like, I am really, I'm at this point of like, dude, I'm really, and part of this actually, like, this is kind of why I brought this up, and I wasn't necessarily going to talk about this, but I would really like to figure out some sort of way, a business that we create or something like this where you actually do have ownership of what we are building and what we are creating. And I know
So
you have
some
your own
stake in it or whatever.
Yeah, no, exactly. Like that's, that's just a necessity, I think, at this point.
Okay.
And because that also really comes down to like, how do I compensate you for this? And I
Yeah.
think it's incredibly apparent to me, like that is one of these, we need to address this, and I'm very eager and happy to talk about that. But I really do want to change the game. I really want this to be like, hey, no, this is very real.
Yeah.
This is very real. This is very yours. This is very,
yeah, like tied into this thing kind of to make sure it.
And these are the skills that I am trying to learn. And how do I do that? Because I don't have the money. And not just that, man. It doesn't matter because most people, the people that I do want to eventually hire, everybody's going to be motivated by money in some aspect. But it's like, no, I really want people that are motivated by
something a little deeper, at least.
Yeah, something like actual cool, something that they're bought into, something that they want to work towards.
Yeah.
Putting people in their 20%, that's where they thrive. It's where they want to work. And putting that together.
Yeah, dude, that that totally. I dig that. Dude, I feel super stoked, honestly.
Yeah?
This is great. No,
Dude.
I really do. Like yeah, man. I mean, I'm glad I had all this talks with you about like what I wanted out of just life, but also video stuff in general, about like all this type of content creation I wanted to do, all the responsibilities. It's like, all right, well, you say you want it. Let's put it to the test. And dude, at the very least, if I realize like, hey man, at the end of the day, like, I just want to be a video editor, I'll go find you a manager or something, or a brand manager or something. Like I'd much rather be the employee for this type of work or in this situation or whatever. But at the very least, dude, I want to try all of it since I have the opportunity to dabble in each of those things. And then, yeah, dude, find out wherever I fit in best and kind of settle into it after some things are starting to churn.
I can see where you're going to fit in best. You're going to do...
You think so?
Oh, yeah. I think that is one of my skills.
Kind of seeing that
is noticing people, noticing their skills, and also being able to push them.
Yeah.
And I think this is kind of, like I think, because I've been on that really balance of abdication and delegation, and I think, I've been hand-holding and micromanaging, and it's...
Well, when you're this early on, like you want to an extent, to make sure everything is... That's where I say, too, it's like I really don't get the sense that it's been like a bottleneck up until this point. I think it very much is like, hey man, here's kind of just a general, like, this is what I want things to look like. I want this type of content on the SIRREL channel. I want this type of content on the Giddy Pessimist channel. And as far as I know, there's no other channels you have right now, right?
Correct.
Okay. I know that's something that we could figure out at another time, and that's also part of my responsibility. I firmly understand that too. But I just want to be clear on like what already is established and what I'm building off of, kind of thing.
Okay. Yeah.
So those are the two platforms anyways.
Yes. Yep.
Gotcha.
Yeah. And it's essentially, and so...
Gotcha.
I do want to run through these, run through them. If we have any questions, we don't have to go real deep, but if there's anything, and I would actually prefer, if there's anything that just doesn't make sense, we can talk about it. Because honestly, dude, everything that's even highlighted, there's way too much here to actually get.
Yeah.
Like, just what's highlighted is probably a 60-hour-a-week type of...
I was going to say, is the highlighted stuff like more important? Is that why you highlighted it?
That is the stuff, yes.
Okay.
That is the stuff that's like, those are basically the things where it's like, those have to get done.
Yeah, right.
Like, these are the things where it's just like
upload videos, yes.
I mean, it's like literally these are just the things, and so this is also part of what I'm trying to do is just help you maybe understand a little bit of what I am, like how much work there actually is. Like creating content from decimal system, it's like that right there is 20 to 30, 40 hours a week, just depending. And that's just starting out now, because in the future, I want these to be
even more thought out.
Oh, baby. I mean, this is the beginning.
Well, even this very first one, sort old content.
Exactly.
Like, with how organized and the lack of organization I know a lot of the stuff is right now, that in and of itself will be an entire job. That was literally my job at Harry and David. The first year I interned was like, hey, we don't have any work for you to do as far as cool, fun video shoots. So here's like 20 hard drives.
Yeah.
Go fucking have fun with that shit.
And there's nobody better that I could think of to do than be in charge of that.
Okay, that's he's like, just go fucking figure it out. There was like terabytes of shit of just, and they never had a video department before. So like, I feel pretty all right, at least that I've had a little bit of experience.
For sure.
Not with like being the first one, just getting handed all the content.
Exactly,
like, go fucking figure this shit out. Go through the old shit. Yeah. This is crazy, man. Yeah, this is, and so, the one thing that I would need clarity on sooner rather than later is like the YouTube uploading stuff. I think would be pretty easy to do, because I know that doesn't even involve the SRP at all. And if managing the social media platforms, is just, something that I don't have to be in charge of, basically, then that also helps me to know that, as far as
you will
I'm fine to help find somebody, but once I pass them on to you, that's not within the brand sort of.
No. Okay. I would not imagine. No. And granted, we're in a whole heck of a lot of figuring this stuff out.
Sure. Because there does have to be some kind of like, I don't know, dude, because like us in the creative services department at Harry and David anyways, we would always have this weird tension with the marketing department over on the other side, because like we were creating all this stuff, they would post it, but they were always like 2 rooms away, and it's just like, why don't we have this assets, and why don't we have this? It's like there's a dumb miscommunication between the people working on the pre-stuff on the computers and the people who are actually doing shit with that out in the real world. So we weren't solidified under an umbrella, hardly, like there were never meetings between the two kind of thing.
It sounds to me like you're probably more qualified to figure out the answer to your own question, because you've been in that situation before. You've seen the deficits. Yeah. So these are like kind of the things, and again, not trying to be like, just fuck you, figure it out. But legitimately, it's like, dude, no. And this is what I mean by like, better than I do. I'm gonna get that sign.
Fuck you, figure it out. I like that, actually. I heart global warming. It's like that same thing.
But these are the things too, dude, that I'm trying to actually bring to your attention. Like, dude, you know this better than I do. Yeah. I haven't actually done this. You have, in some ways, like you've had these discs, you have been in these positions. So you have the foresight to be able to be like, hey, this is kind of what happened. This is probably how we should do it. And that's literally what I am trying to, I'm trying to step as far back. Yes. Here's the thing. I do not want you to feel abandoned.
For sure.
But I want you to kind of feel like I just kicked you into the deep end. Yeah. You're going to struggle for a while. You're going to flounder, and you're going to be like, do I do this? Do I do that? I don't fucking know, dude.
And dude, if you ever want to just like not reply to my texts, just to make the point more clear, I would totally welcome it, honestly.
Trust me, dude. I accidentally do that all the time anyway. So
I mean, I can imagine.
My biggest thing too, just on that note, I have got to get an executive assistant. Yeah. I cannot. And these are like some of these things too, where I'm realizing
and I'm still totally down to keep my feelers out for all these positions,
and that's the other thing too, is
that like I'm not responsible for, but
and anything that you can help, like this is kind of the other thing too. What I'm trying to say is like, no, we're in a very like, again, like to I want to 10x this, I want to actually, the plans are there. Yeah. I got to get out of, again, I keep saying that, but really, all of these things could be different if I would do things different. Yeah. And I'm not necessarily trying to blame myself, but it's just it's a very real realization. And perhaps there was no other way of doing it to get to this point. But now that I am at this point, it's like, okay, this is what needs to happen. Yeah. This is what needs to be done. I need to focus on very, 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 very different things. I have been way too deep. Probably couldn't have done it other ways. Yeah, right. I would not have felt nobody else could have come up with the CRM that I, the way that I wanted it.
Right. You had to do all that stuff, kind of build the foundations
But now that that's done, looking at everything that needs to be done, I was like, there's absolutely nothing that I am even like great at. So like, get people that are better than me.
Like you just finished building this one house, took you all this fucking work, and now you're looking at the hillside behind the house at like all the rest of the land that needs to be fucking torn up. You're like, all right, done. And you look up and there's just like a mountain still of undeveloped land that needs houses and a bunch of people standing behind you that need places to live. And you're like, all right, well.
And a bunch of workers, and I'm looking at my house and I'm like, siding doesn't suck, but could be better.
Yeah,
like,
right.
It's pretty square, but it could probably be better.
Yeah, right, yeah.
Painting's not bad, but it could probably be better.
And you're like, I did it all myself, so I guess it's not bad considering that. But damn, I got to build 100 more of these, and I need them to all be perfect.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I need it done yesterday. And
Yes.
there's a bunch of people, and there's a bunch of
winter's
siders
approaching.
and painters and contractors sitting right there that are like, I can do this. I literally do this.
Yeah. And it's like, great, I don't have any money to pay you, but I need all these houses built.
Yeah.
But once a few of them are built,
Exactly.
the money's going to come flooding in.
Yep.
Because buyers need these houses.
And once all 100 of them are going to be built, there should be more wealth to go around than like any of it, that.
Right.
Yeah.
These analogies are helpful for me.
This is a
hopefully
super,
for the
dude,
viewers
this
here.
is a great analogy.
I'm always going to jump into the analogies.
And this is why, and here's the other thing too, dude, like one of the things, we've got to get this content out.
Yeah. Yeah.
Like this is great.
Yeah.
This is really, really good.
Yeah.
In whatever this is one thing we are doing very well, or we could do, very well, but we need somebody to come through and like pull these little clips out.
Right.
We've got 4 or 5 of these now, this new content that honestly at the timeline that we're looking at, they're not going to be out for fucking 6 to 9 months.
Yeah. Well, dude, I mean, there's like, I don't know. I feel pretty good that like could go through and pull some of these shorts out on a pretty relatively short time horizon. And I know this is part of the stuff I need to figure out, and I totally can. But I just need to have a clear sense of like because like, dude, getting everything edited is not anything that's outside of the realm of my imagination. Like who can do it, how soon they can do it, how I can oversee the whole process. But how to get it to a drive, a network, a place, a location where somebody else can upload it.
Okay.
If I don't have the ability to upload it is what makes me more nervous.
Oh, okay. So wait.
Like,
well, why wouldn't you have? Why wouldn't you have the ability to upload it?
I mean, I can. I just don't have, as of right now, anyways. I don't have access to anything.
Perfect. That's easy.
Okay, cool.
That is a few clicks away.
Cool.
I already did that with Hood. So
sweet. Okay, cool.
Yeah.
That's right.
So that's not a, and this is great too. And these are the things, these are the things I have to do, or I have to get somebody else in here. So,
And that's the thing. It's like, if I have everything under my domain and control, then I can at least be like, okay, dude, I tried this, not working, or like I found somebody to do this, so they're handling this. But I just need to, like, I would feel guilty if like all this content started piling up and it couldn't get posted anywhere because we didn't have somebody on the front end to put it out kind of thing.
And that's great
and
too.
I'm happy to do that. I just need to know that that's.
I'm gonna need to grab my notebooks because this is great, and we're getting into some of this like actual next steps. But here's the thing, man. Too is I want you to kind of start feeling this sense of like this is an interesting thing. Like it's okay. Like if some things happen, like it's okay to feel a little guilty if you know, like, no, that's not going to work. But at the same time too, I really want you to get to this place of like, hey, I'm feeling guilty, which means like this needs to be addressed. Yeah. This shit needs to get addressed. And either I do it and it's within my power, or I grab Seth and say, hey, this is not working. Yeah. Get this fixed. Yeah. And that's like
and knowing which things you have to fix or, things I'm capable of fixing. Yeah. So, I'm definitely at this point, I'm having a more and more clear understanding of like trying to give absolute all of my effort before coming to you kind of thing. Cause I get that's kind of the point you're at now too. It's like, you need to go through X, Y, Z, all the way to Z basically. And only then, once you've exhausted all other options for accomplishing something that isn't happening, then come to me kind of thing. So,
and you'll refine these skills too of knowing when there's another point where you're like, hey, I know Seth has some questions on this, so I'll shoot this over right now. Yeah. And learning those things, but also too, and me having to learn of like, and this, I'm going to come back to this. These questions that you generally have, you're probably more
Yes.
capable of answering them than I am.
Right.
You know, there are certain things where it just comes to like the real, maybe some of the very nuanced things. But at this time too, man, like a lot of this
Wild
stuff,
West.
I'm guessing.
Just fucking.
Yeah, I don't know.
Send it.
Yeah, for sure. Like with the fonts and stuff. Like, pff.
Yeah.
Do you like these bullet points?
Yeah. Who the fuck knows?
Yeah.
Dude, yeah.
So I gotta grab a piece of paper, and then because I
sure.
want to take down a couple of notes for next steps.
Yeah. That's right. That's bullet point number 1 on how to run a good meeting. Take notes, which I am guilty of not doing for this whole.
It's all recorded.
Oh, that's right. We have
We're taking,
digital notes.
Yeah, the best notes that we could.
Yep. Dude, did you bring any weed, by the way?
No.
Did you get my text? Of course not, because
because my stupid phone.
Shit.
I know,
right.
man. Oh.
Yeah,
no.
I meant to. Dude, did you leave a jar with a rolling thing here at one point? Okay.
Oh, that's right.
I still have that.
That's some swag.
I wasn't sure if that was yours or somebody else's.
No, that is. When you actually have a pack of joints at my house.
I mean, I gave those to you and Hood,
yeah.
so
I
don't know.
Oh, well, they're
there.
And maybe
Dude, the texting thing we got to get figured out. And the other thing, before I forget, it's a very small thing, so don't let it occupy a ton of your mental space. But YouTube, I haven't put. I'm gonna call it the 10-hour rule. I think honestly this would be a useful thing, and here's a perfect example. Listeners, you can take this one, free advice. And I could be way off base, but I think it might be a good principle. Like, it's kind of on that point of like, I don't want to come to you until I've exhausted all my resources. Like, I don't want to come to you with a problem until I've spent 10 hours or something like that. Maybe the number's wrong, but something like that, where it's like, I haven't put my 10 hours in to try to solve this yet, so let me try to do that first. That's the point I'm at with YouTube. When I went to upload the second episode the other day, I was having issues. Like, it just kept giving me errors. When I went to upload, I couldn't change the descriptions. It barely let me do the thumbnail. It wouldn't let me do the end card thing properly like I could before. It just kept saying, oh, retry. I tried on both computers, just something with my login on the SIRREL and the Giddy Pessimist channel. It might have just been an issue with YouTube. It might have just been I needed to restart my laptop and turn it back on. This was like a week ago. But you'll probably notice, typically on YouTube, it'll let you just copy a description that you made in a previous video really quickly, which is what I wanted to do from the first Blocks episode. When I did the second Blocks episode, copy the title, just change it to a 2, copy the description, but change it slightly for the second episode. Didn't let me do any of that. So it's uploaded right now. The description.
I just uploaded. I made it
public.
Yeah.
So not a huge thing to figure out. And again, I haven't put my 10 hours in to try to resolve the issue, but that is just a little hiccup that I might need to, I don't know, might come up down the line.
Yeah.
Again, it's not a huge thing for me to tell you right now, because I get that this shouldn't be your responsibility to figure out. But if I can't use YouTube for some reason, or it's glitching out, or I need a different type of login or something, I don't know. So,
and we'll, and these are all the things, start making lists. And one on here too.
In case you were wondering why the description or something didn't look right with that video, I just wanted to tell you that's why. So I will go back in and try to make sure the description is right.
Yeah,
now,
and at this point in time, too, man, of like finding that balance and realizing too, we just don't have enough people. Like, it's really hard, like.
I don't want to spend 10 hours doing that when I could spend 10 hours chopping up 3 podcasts instead, kind of thing.
And that's the tough balance, and there's no right answer. At this point, so it's really like
that's always fun. I love that when there's no right answer.
Yeah, it's like I don't know.
People like me who are super analytical and like to have yes no options, and it's like, I don't know, that's the answer. There's no answer. And now it's
your turn to make all of the decisions on this stuff that don't have fuck you, figure it out. Like that.
No, dude, that's one of those little things that I wanted to bring up, if not for you, then at least for the podcast, of like, dude, there's going to be these little shits that are just like, why does this happen? Technical glitch, like how many people am I going to have to go to resolve this thing?
And these are the things too I would recognize. I mean, just hearing you say that, probably not your 20%.
No, yeah, exactly. And it's like, I could
sure as hell not mine.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. And that's why I'm like, I know Seth is not the person when it comes to anything technical to figure out.
But at the same time too, yes, and my job, the higher I go and the more that I go, is my job is to be a servant for all of the other people to get things done.
Yeah.
So no, it's not my direct job to do that, but it's absolutely my responsibility to make that happen.
Yeah.
So
like if it turns out I need your email address and password or something like that, you know, probably not, but just as an example, like.
And if it turns out that like this is occupying, you know, if this is distracting you, if this is preventing
or it's recurring or something.
Yeah, if this is preventing you from doing, you know, making progress.
Yeah.
And you're not, again, this is one of these things too of like knowing where you're at and knowing your particular deal. Like, yes, for the moment, I'm throwing this at you to say, figure all of this out, but like, it's not your job to hire. You know?
Right.
So, like, you know, in a way, at the moment, maybe yes, maybe no. It's got to happen.
Yeah.
Maybe it's your job, maybe it's not. But eventually, like, it's not going to be... I want you to understand, you know, you're very valuable. You need to be very high up. You need to be spending your time on these high
kind of bigger
leveraged activities. Yeah. And so certain things, you know, like that, is getting somebody in place where, you know... and that might be something that I have to come in and do and help. Be like, hey, I actually need you to go find somebody to do YouTube.
Yeah.
I don't know YouTube all that well. You don't know YouTube that well, but this is your job. Like, this is no longer Seth, like, out of my realm.
Yeah.
And that's very much, these are the things that we are going to have to figure out.
Yeah. Okay. For sure.
I have thrown this on your plate. I know there's way too much on there. I expect a lot of this to come back.
That's the point.
At this point, it's like, I can't keep fucking delegating. I'm abdicating this. Do the best that you freaking can. Get the help that you can when you really can't figure this stuff out. Yeah. And you feel like, and there's no wrong answers. Yeah. And you're not going to make any mistakes that are going to be like catastrophic. Right. You know, even like the $7,000 that I've just thrown away on my social media manager. I was just going to say, unless I
bill you automatically.
I mean, here's the thing, dude. We're not dead. Like, it's a complete colossal pain in the ass. And those resources could go a long way, but it's not stopping me from going forward. Yeah. So it's like, you're not, so like, even so, man, like, things can get figured out. I would, you know, move fast and break things. Just try to make sure that, you know, you're not going to get me sued.
Right. Yeah. Well, I can do that at least.
Yeah.
Yeah, dude. And the other kind of question I have for you is, well, I guess it's not even a question, really. This guy, Ian, in particular, and potentially other people that I could bring to you that aren't necessarily within my realm of content stuff. Like, if I don't have a clear sense of, like, where I could see them fitting in, are you fine to just... Do you have the time and resources, and are you willing to put in the energy into somebody to figure out...
Those are literally the things,
that's what you need? Okay,
absolutely. Cool. Like, my job now is team building.
Yes, okay.
So, like, specifically, those are the exact things that I want to be... focusing on and like, you know, and I'm trusting you as well, like to, you know, have good judgment on these people and understanding what we're doing.
I'm just the pre-filter, the carbon filter,
right?
getting the ones
in.
But then there's people like, again, just real world examples like Alex, where it's like, I don't really even necessarily think you need to interact with them all that much. Ideally, like I really think like streamline the communication.
Absolutely.
No hiring needed until it's time to fill out whatever those documents are called when you get hired. Yeah. Wow, it's been so long since I've actually been hired somewhere. Not as a contract. But that would also be helpful for me to know, like, are you trying to hire people as contractors, subcontractors, like within this thing? Is that something that I need to know now, or is that even important?
Probably not something we need to know right now. We can kind of make it fit whatever
people want to do.
Exactly.
Gotcha.
Where we're at. Just also too, and I think excuse me. Hopefully you know this just from these conversations, but I mean, my goal is really to treat employees and the people that work like very, very well. Yeah. As best as I possibly can. I really do believe you get amazing people. You treat them well, compensate them. It's a very beautiful thing. Yeah. So just kind of, you know, I just want that to be in the forefront of all of these things of like, hey, if this is a capable person, like I will do my best. You know, I'm looking for obviously trying to be particular, but I'm looking for very specific all-stars. Yeah. And we will figure out whatever works best for these type of people.
Yeah. Yeah. depending on case to case.
Yep.
Gotcha.
And at this point too, again, we can approach the 70% principle to this as well.
Yeah.
I don't really know. And there's definitely there's going to have to be a whole HR department once we really start hiring a lot of people.
Yeah.
Right now we'll do the absolute best that we can, but I want to focus on getting things accomplished. Getting people into, if they can help, get them into the door, try to leverage it as much as possible.
Yeah.
But yeah, man, we really got to
focus on the team building.
Yeah, we got to crank. Yeah, we really got to go.
Get the shit out.
For sure. So I think on that, a few things that I would like to talk about is specifically next steps. And I think part of the next steps, if we can't do it right now, is defining ideal outcomes, agreeing upon metrics to measure, and goals and timelines.
Okay. Yeah, absolutely. That would be amazing.
Yeah.
Never had that before.
Yeah.
Either, kind of. Dude, even at Harry and David, it's just like, I mean, I guess there is a sense of that. We would have our team meetings and everybody would get a printout of all the tasks on it, kind of like ClickUp kind of thing. We'd all get a printout. We just go item one at a time and it would have the person's name. Jasper, where are we at with blah, 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 blah. Oh, yeah, I got this coming Tuesday. Okay, it says it's going to be due on Wednesday. Is that still? Yep. Okay, cool. Evan, this thing, where are we at with that? It's like, well, I didn't ever get called on because I didn't have tasks. But it was very much like that. And I'm like, dude, that is exactly, I can see why this is the fucking,
like I said,
crux.
Yep. And this is the type of stuff. It's like big businesses don't get big and then figure this stuff out. They get big because they have this stuff figured out.
Yes.
Right. That's my theory.
I mean, I think it's probably true.
Well, we're trying. And this is going to be tough because like I said, really definitely working this out. And maybe one of the things too, because defining next steps might be figuring out those three things: ideal outcomes, metrics to measure, and goals and timelines.
Yeah.
I don't really know. Actually, what I would like to do, though, because we haven't really done that, just one for the video, but just so we can actually go through it.
Yeah.
I am going to go through and just read all of the things that are highlighted.
Okay, for sure. Starting with...
Just we'll go through the socials, page 1, and these weren't in any particular order, and there's going to be some overlay, but so creating content from the decimal system, like that's going to be a lot of time. He already knows about that. We're already making posters, but that literally we have pages and pages of content to create on that. Posted them to all platforms as the SOP that we already have created instructs. Turn videos and lives into format for all platforms. Create descriptions for all content. Implement hashtag strategy as the SOP instructs. Create reels. Keyword search, engagement, which would be need to make this is just so you know, this is under the social media manager.
Okay.
Need to be sure. Yeah, sorry, I'm talking kind of more to the people watching.
That's fine.
We need to be sure what the voice for the brand is. This is important to monitor questions and cues. A big thing that I'm concerned about is just once we post all this content of actually engaging with the people. So that'll be a little bit, that's once stuff is kind of posted. So for the video manager, sort all old content, edit all old content, comb through old content, looking for shorts, long form quotes, and before comparisons, and then creating a content library from that. That's a task. That's a big chunk. That's basically kind of what Evan's been kind of working on as I continue to throw these new recordings and other content at him. So that's massive. That is a huge thing in and of itself.
What do you mean by before comparisons?
So essentially, like what I was thinking, good question. What I would like to do, what I put this down was, for instance, I know I have one video where I sit there and I actually literally write out on a whiteboard that says, this is how I think this is what I want to do with my social media strategy. And I listed basically all this stuff, and then be able to like pull that out and then create another video of this and like, hey, you see this this was before and this is now. Like, hey, this is basically these, hey, look at the progress that we've made. So those could almost be like the comparison, the progress videos.
Right. Okay.
Does it make sense?
Yeah, it's videos specifically that contain information about you either putting a plan in place or defining what you think some of these guiding principles be, or what you think you're going to do in the future. It's like, so people can very clearly see a before and after. It's different than your just typical like rants or whatever you call it, where it's just, you're not actually coming up with new stuff or articulating specific ideas you want to implement. It's just you talking about your day. Are some of the other kind of videos.
Yes, a lot of them have been updates, but some of these like interview ones that I've had, I have talked with like specific strategies. And who knows, man? I haven't dove into this. Maybe there's not a lot in there, and maybe you dive in here and you kind of make the decision of like, this isn't where we need to spend our time right now. Like this content doesn't actually hold all that much value to be spending the time right now.
Yeah.
I think the content library, could be valuable, especially with AI, especially because like now you can just upload the videos, you can have the transcripts copied immediately, and then from there it would probably be easy to kind of sort them.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm going back to just what's already on this list. So there's a huge amount of work around old content, but weekly long forms. So I want to be recording. I actually want to be doing 2 of those a week. So something similar to this, getting this edited and the shorts picked out and the audio split for podcasts. Short video creation, which is basically, this is for new content. Same stuff, the vertical forms, captions, informations for descriptions, creating thumbnails. So that's under the video manager. And these are not necessarily like, I kind of highlighted them all because these were what I did. Just as a side note, I wrote down literally I had an entire list of every responsibility that I could think of that needed to be done in this business. And then I went through and tried to organize them into these types of video, into these job descriptions, where I was like, hey, these all seem to fit under this one umbrella. But, so that's where I got, but now it's like, we just have to get all this stuff done.
Yeah, right.
So under YouTube Manager, upload thumbnails, add chapters to videos, monitor comments, add cards, add video suggestions to the end of videos, and then upload videos.
Yeah.
That's pretty straightforward.
Wait, what do you mean by I want time lapse?
Oh, yeah, I put that on there. Oh, that was
I know it's not highlighted, but...
Oh, because just one of the things for, like, new content creation of... I think I like time lapses.
Yeah, no, they are cool.
I'm not even...
It's just
some of these are just
notes.
Yeah,
for sure.
Under brand manager, again, these are just things that are highlighted. Newsletter, that thing isn't necessarily super duper important, but it's something that you can put such little effort into it. And it's another form of content. Create information / facts documents for the marketing system, for content creation. Ensure copyright thesis is created and implemented. For those of you that don't know what copyright is, I think it's spelled wrong on here, but that's the actual, and when I say copyright thesis, this has to do with like the voice that your brand has when you say things authoritatively, and your fonts, certain things like that. So make sure that those are created and implemented. Topic clusters. That's a little bit too deep, but that's actually more marketing. Keyword searches, hashtag research, although most of that stuff is pretty much done right now, but we can talk about that. All of that stuff is done for the moment. Tracking and report analytics, that's going to be such a massive part of all of this. That in and of itself could be another, 20 hours a week.
Another job, yeah.
Curate social media platforms. Ensure each platform is congruent with the brand. That also kind of has to do with the copyright. So, like, this is just literally something, like, right now, man, even so, I've got, I think, 9 different platforms between the 2 different brands on YouTube, TikTok, Facebook, Instagram, and then LinkedIn. So I've got 2 of those first 4, and then the one of the LinkedIn. So just making sure that all
just
of those...
Just one LinkedIn.
Yep,
okay.
Just one. Oh, actually, I have a personal LinkedIn and a business LinkedIn.
Okay.
So I guess technically 2.
Gotcha.
Just curate, making sure that all of the, just the profile pictures are the same. The bios say the same things. If there are special events in there, just updating links as far as like, social media, Facebook, websites, because these things are changing. So that's one aspect of brand manager. Overseeing or complete weekly research for content. So essentially what I would like to get, we aren't even talking about new content yet, but essentially we're talking about, these cluster topics. Each week I would like to be doing 2 long form content similar to this, probably not quite as long, on educational topics. So being able to actually plan that out with the keywords, with the topic clusters, and then creating and assigning tasks in ClickUp, which is just kind of a managerial thing. You know, ClickUp is something we need to integrate. I know I'm doing actually shit at it. This is why I'm the manager.
Yeah, granted. Dude, honestly, but having those things there, even though there's no like hard deadlines to anything, like just the fact that I can check into it and see the stuff, I'm like, oh, that's right, this. Dude, I just love it, man.
Perfect.
Yeah, it's great, dude. And we haven't even, there's so many tools in there that I've just like been playing around with, and I'm like, holy shit, dude, this could be so helpful, like so amazing, like mind maps and shit like that to help conceptualize ideas and stuff. That will all be, could have just a ClickUp manager, honestly. That could be its own full-time job.
That'll be, I mean, that's very much, that's task, like a COO, like,
right.
Operations, you know. So like I said, man, with all of this stuff, to do all of these jobs correctly, you know, that was, we just read 5 different job descriptions, and that's just on like the digital.
Just in one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And then the last thing of just ones that I had elsewhere, manage my Patreon, which is kind of out there, not doing anything, but I mean, we probably should put some effort into the platform that's designed to just collect money.
And the Patreon is purely just a Giddy Pessimist function, or I mean, it's just part of Giddy Pessimist.
I don't know.
Like SIRREL wouldn't have a Patreon because SIRREL is a business. Patreon makes more sense.
Yeah, that probably makes sense. Yeah,
just your own personal.
Yeah, that would make. Yeah, that makes sense. So, and then writing scripts for content, creating a PR/earned media plan, because this is another thing too of just really getting out there. Like, these are the things that I've recognized, like, this is actually kind of the 20% that I'm, and it's very difficult for me to kind of, like, step back and accept or recognize these things. But, I mean, a big part, like, I'm going to be the face of this thing.
Yeah.
And there's, you know, if this goes, like, a lot of the stuff is going to be a lot of time in front of the camera, and having an actual strategy behind that, getting on different podcasts. I mean, if I'm gonna, you know, if this goes the way that I want it to go, I'm hoping that this is a large.
Do the Hermosi thing where you do the podcast tour kind of thing, yeah.
I would love speaking engagements. Yeah, that's the type of stuff. Like, this is literally, and so this is why I'm like, okay, no, I need to step way, way, way far back, and even outside of SIRREL a little bit. And I think even really focusing on the EI approach again, and being like, this was really the whole thing that I was trying to do, and like, yes. That takes the brand, and it takes the insurance, and it takes generating leads, and selling the CRM, and getting the onboarding. But it's like, but really, and then scheduling video progression, which is a big overview, you know, which is just a very high level organizational task.
That's definitely something I want to figure out myself sooner rather than later too. That's kind of one of my bigger things. Dude, and this is also amazing, man. I'm just like so stoked to have some of this stuff to like physically look at and just not only be able to see for myself, but show other people. Look over several times just to clear it in. And then I can look at something like bio and be like, what does that mean? Like, I need to make a note to bring that up in the next meeting or something, you know, it's just, which I know what that means, but just as an example. And dude, the one thing I will say that's been on my mind forever, this is me talking to you as a manager now. We need to update first and foremost profile pictures and stuff, just like the main things. So first question I have for you for SIRREL anyways, I think, absolutely have it just be your face or whatever, or your body or your bust, whatever's framing is not as important, but I need to know from you. I have, you know, photo studio, I have camera, like that's something we could bang out like literally in an hour. I just need to know, and this is where it comes into branding, like, what shirt do you want to wear? What pants? What pose do you want? Like fun or serious or arms? Like, put some thought into that. I will obviously as well, because I know that's part of what this means for me. But for SIRREL, like I could see it going a multitude of ways, but like that, and same with Giddy Pessimist, like they need to be distinct. And I just need to get a sense from you, like. And again, I'm happy to give my own input and stuff too, obviously. But
I'm gonna stop you.
Yeah, for sure. Would you rather I just tell you?
I would rather you. I would. Yeah, I want to switch.
Come with a button-up shirt. We're gonna take a picture tomorrow, kind of thing.
Okay. Gotcha. Because this is the type of stuff.
I don't mean that literally.
No.
But
yeah. But I really do. I want to switch these roles
for sure.
Because you know, one, I need my headspace elsewhere, but two, like these are the things that really like you're good at, and you're better at them than I am, and really keeping these things separate. And so I will default to your ideas.
Yeah.
And when they don't hit right, I will, or, and we'll discuss them. But I really do want to get to this. I want to flip this differently as, you are in charge of this stuff.
Okay, for sure.
I am the face, essentially, and obviously, and I'm the face, and I am the deep-rooted plan, and then you are everything on top of it.
Right. For sure. Gotcha. Cool. Yeah, I will set up, I'll just put some thought into that, and we'll hopefully get that out, sooner rather than later, because that's just like such a quick, easy thing that would take the most distance kind of thing. Like any of those small things that...
And this is exactly
There's
perfect.
A phrase for that. I can't remember what it is, but it's like small things that go the longest way, get those done first kind of thing, or that have the most impact.
Oh.
It was a quadrant, I think. I don't think you even maybe it was Hermosi. It was like a crazy... No, dude, it was in ClickUp. I'll have to show it to you at some point. It's fucking amazing, dude. It's like... it's like a grid, and it's how you assign tasks. And there's 4 quadrants, and it's like the up and down spectrum is like easy, hard to do, and then how important it is on this side.
Okay.
Or how, or something. And so you can put tasks in quadrants and knock them out that way. It's like a cool way to visualize these tasks. And updating just the basic cover photo, bio, just basic images that are going to last forever. Or not for, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
They're just like the main picture that people will see first. Updating those things is like easiest to do, most impact type quadrant. So I will put some effort into getting those sort of tasks knocked out, or not knocked out, but planned.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Okay, so why don't we just briefly move to next steps?
Yeah, for sure. And timelines.
Well, like I said, and
or whatever makes sense.
Yeah, for sure. And this could be, granted, this is, so next, let's just kind of dive into this. Like next steps, and we can even decide right now if, do we want to try to figure out timelines? Because essentially, what we need to do, so running a good meeting, have an agenda, time frame, discuss steps, leave with next steps, but then delegating responsibilities. Define ideal outcomes. Why don't we talk about that for a little bit? I think we've already done we have
a good sense of the next steps.
Yeah, so we have, and we've been working through this a little bit, but I would say ideally, what I would like from this outcome is essentially, dude, I guess in the simplest way is we've talked about basically starting this kind of production company. That's kind of the way that that's what I would like to look at this as, is like, okay, we are officially starting, like, this is a whole separate cluster that I understand what's going on, but like, you're my contact point of this. And I'm just kind of checking in and, like, hey, how is this going? You are very high level, basically running this business.
For sure.
Running this production.
This part of it.
Yeah. That's a very, very kind of narrow, simplistic, ideal outcome.
Yeah, no, I totally...
What about, any thoughts on that?
No, it helps having another real world example out there. And I think, I was just thinking of like Hermosi's situation. Like he was doing just fine, making tons of money, obviously complete different situation, but like nothing having to do with content at all. Now he does have a whole leg of his business that's like his brand person who used to be his video editor or whatever. And then that whole team, however many they have underneath, that kind of thing. It's like, I totally see what you're saying. Like you are Alex Hermosi. You already kind of have the way you dress and the way you are. And like, you kind of have all the other stuff figured out already. You as my brand manager, just in charge of like always having a camera when I go to these events. You're in charge of always making sure I'm, presented in the best way online digitally. And, like that just helps me be like, okay, I just have to do that, but better.
Yeah, for sure,
I'm
dude.
down. That sounds sick.
Dude, and that's Alex, buddy.
Yep.
We're coming. We are coming.
Coming for your bones.
Yeah, that's right. You are the standard, but you're about to have some competition, dude. Yeah. So my editor is pretty damn good. So yeah, and we'll see how I do on branding.
Yeah, we'll see. But dude, I think we've had a lot of talks already about like the places you feel like he missed the mark.
Yeah.
And just being able to identify those things and also the fact that we're going in with that mindset means we can be cognizant of that as we're creating our own stuff of like, okay, where did we miss the mark on this?
Mm-hmm.
And like, how can we improve in the next iteration of batch of content that comes out and all that stuff. Very much trying to stand on the shoulders of the Mr. Beasts and the Hermosi who have done all this shit already. Yep. I'm really trying to not make a bunch of dumb basic mistakes. Like, dude, even just real world example real quick for the listeners, like the first blocks video, made that animation at the beginning, whatever. I was stoked with it, but it, you know, getting to see the analytics, I can see immediately everybody stopped watching after, not everybody, but like you can see when people stop watching, it was only like 10 views or something. So not the most in depth, but I can tell just based on that. And also just, it just triggered my subconscious of something that I heard. It's like right away, dude, you need to engage people. Yeah. And so in the second video, you might've noticed like started right off with like, just like social media strategy or something. And it's just like instant. And I haven't looked at analytics and there's a million other variables in there, but I waited to roll that little intro until after the engagement had already happened. And it's just like, okay, like now that I'm actually editing some Mr. Beast videos, I know how he's gotten to the point that he's gotten, like doing it for myself. So I'm not going to promise that it's all going to be that level of quality, but it's like, I know what to look for and what not to look for.
And dude, we'll get all, trust me,
going with that mindset and you can't help but grow.
If you're on that mindset, we're going to be great. So as far, so ideal outcome, metrics. I'm not 100% sure. Okay, why don't we just spitball? I mean, obviously, let's just say, number of videos seems like
an easy place to start.
It's a thing. It's a thing that can be counted.
I like that.
SOPs created, because that's going to be a big part. Because that is a big part of this too. Is like, yes, we want to get stuff done, but at the same time, it's very important to do this properly and then allow you get it figured out. Get it figured out well, and then we get people in place to do it. Or, you also help if there are other people that can figure it out. Yeah. But that's really the goal of like, building this scalable and building it right where we figure it out. We figure it out one time. Yeah. We write it down and we can continue to improve on that. Yep. But SOPs are going to be huge. And I put a little note in here. I didn't actually do it because I wasn't as prepared for this meeting as I'd hoped.
For sure.
I have an SOP on how to create SOPs.
Oh, sick.
Yeah. So
I would love to see that.
That was
so
a very,
I can create them.
Bro, that was a very, very interesting time in my life of like, or just that actually very specific thing. Because I actually tried to get Leanne to do this. Well, we worked through this for a long time, but I was like, man, because I wasn't sure if I was ridiculous or a bit of a genius on recognizing the very first...
It's a gray line.
But... Dude, for sure. There might be gaps in it. But really like seeing like, oh, I recognized almost immediately. I was like, okay, SOPs are important. And I was like, I don't even know how to do an SOP. And I was like, oh shit. Like we got to write an SOP on how to write an SOP.
Interesting. Yeah. So you wrote one, you're saying?
I did a ton of research.
Oh, wow.
Like this was one of these really weird things where I was like, SOPs are important. And I was like, but I don't know how to do it. I've never done it.
Wow.
And I was like, so how do I do it? And I was like, I don't know. I have no idea. So I've spent weeks trying to figure this out.
But dude, this is just another one of those little icebergs that's just like you don't realize like you're standing on this mountain or whatever, but it's just like all the work underneath that went into it. It's like you took the time, weeks researching just how to write an SOP. Yeah. Like something that you could even argue may not even be totally necessary for somebody to get some work. But it's like you took the time to make the measurements, measure it twice, make sure that's what you wanted, cut the circle ever so gently, stop, pause halfway, make sure like you're taking the time to do all these things. And like, this is just something else. Like I had no fucking idea you would have, or like not even knowing 3 months ago what an SOP was. And the fact that you spent 3 weeks just trying to figure out how to write one. Yeah. Yeah, man, I would be stoked to see what that document is.
It's not as elaborate as I would like, but
okay. So you're saying it even could be improved potentially?
Yeah, because it was also one of these things too. Because writing an SOP was like, oh, okay, we figured that out. But actually, the really difficult part was like getting my assistant to write it.
Oh, interesting.
Because that was
it's not enough to know how to write one. I mean, Yeah, that's too meta for this. I can't even like.
And that's management.
It's like how to write a plan. It's like, first of all, have a plan. Or yeah, it's like one of those things. It's like
the most important thing about a plan is having somebody that can actually execute it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway,
step one, make a plan.
Yeah. Yeah. Yes.
We need to figure out how to build this business. All right. Step one, make a plan. Okay.
Yeah, dude, for sure.
And then you're just stuck. You're like, all right, well, we put in our work for the day.
We figure this out. Like, this is going to work.
Step 2, make $1 million. Easy.
Yeah. Step 1, write a great business plan.
Yeah.
Huh. Okay, that seems right. That seems right. Now, how do I do that? And
that was very much step 1.
I was actually very much with the SOPs. I was like, dude, I know how to build. Like, it's on SOPs. Great.
Yeah.
How do you build an SOP? Oh, yeah. I don't really know. Actually, I've never done it.
Yeah, right. You're like,
I've never had a business that actually does this all.
Just create bullet points on Word and like just write all the things that come to your mind of things you want people to do.
Yeah.
I guess.
And then you realize too on those, because this is also, I think, part of the realization of like, man, there's nothing about this that I'm the best at, because there are literally people that it's like, this is what you do. You create SOPs, and you create SOPs for incredibly complicated things. The stuff I'm doing is not even that complicated.
Yeah.
You know, in the grand scheme of like other, you know, building softwares or enterprising, you know, networking software and, you know. Anyway, totally off topic, but let's bring it way back to trying to figure out, and I, you know, just brainstorming.
Items.
Yeah. So metrics, number of videos created, number of videos, SOPs created. Honestly, dude, I'm just going to put social media posts down because I know that's not exactly... I mean, I don't know. Again, just spitballing here, and that's not even really your realm.
Well, yeah, I can at least give you a sense of where my mind's at as far as like some of these numbers for types of content, because I do think I do have a clear sense of like what the different forms of content are out there, which ones would go on what platforms, how often we could realistically post starting off, and at what rate we can scale up those numbers per platform. I do feel pretty confident on those things, and I know the goal initially was kind of like, dude, I want to be posting X amount per week of this. And so that will be kind of my first part of my role, is just like telling you what I think is feasible and what I think what metrics we should shoot for and at what point. Because same thing, man. Like I could easily see like, even though the next 2 months, it might just be like a couple reels a week or something like that. Like, dude, I also really think like it should be a reel a day or if not more, you know, per channel.
Perfect.
Kind of thing.
That's
like,
exactly what I want to hear.
I totally think we can scale up to that. But I do think it's more worth it to not try to hit that right away, potentially.
Exactly. Yes. As long as we have a plan.
If we have a plan to get to there.
Yep.
Yeah.
And the metrics too. And these are some of these things. So it's like, okay, so we try to add another real, you know.
Another zero to the.
Exactly. Or, you know, we try to get to a reel every other day by 4 weeks.
Right. Yes. Right. And so that's what you kind of want to try to figure out.
I need to, that's coming back to this. And again, you know, I wrote this down.
That's stuff I can figure out on my own time too. But
yeah,
you know.
And that could very well be the next steps.
For sure.
Is coming up with these metrics, because this is pretty nuanced, you know, and this is a brand new meeting in this level. This is the first time I've ever been.
It's the first time we've had an actual meeting.
For sure, dude. No, it is.
This is the first time.
And this is
glad we recorded it.
This is a very, very kind of like high level of like, we're going from where we're at to 10x. And so, this is all new, but this is pretty exciting. I'm hoping, you know, we're stepping it up as far as content creation, stepping it up as far as our meetings, stepping it up as far as our team.
Yeah.
And so, okay. So do you think that is a good next step? Because I'm sitting here.
Is what, figuring out the types of content and quantities?
Yep.
Yeah.
The
totally.
metrics.
Yeah, the metrics. Absolutely.
Because quite frankly, I'm at a weird place of like, I kind of feel like my responsibility in this meeting was to give you all of the responsibility.
Yes, right. Yeah. No, totally.
And so it's kind of this weird thing of me sitting here as like, I don't actually think I should be the ones coming up with the metrics and telling you what to do.
If you want me to do that right now off the top of my head, I can definitely give you at least a rough idea of what I think on some of those things.
For video's sake, why don't we just throw it out there?
Okay, for sure. So yeah, going down the bullet list under how to delegate responsibilities, I'm guessing. Agree upon metrics.
Yeah, whatever. Oh, I thought you were just gonna talk.
Well, I was gonna say, not necessarily a define ideal outcome quite yet, but I would like to, go down right below that to agree upon metrics to measure.
Yeah. Okay, perfect.
And then goals and timelines.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So first of all, defining the metrics. I already wrote down number of videos created. That was the first idea you had, or the first thing you said. You said something else too that I didn't write down.
SOPs created.
Let me just.
Yeah.
And then not people recruited, but that is also an actionable metric to measure.
Absolutely. That's great.
I want to word it better than that.
That's fine. I don't think that's people, fine.
That's
prospected even.
Yeah, people. Yeah, I would like to, and that doesn't have to have a specific number tied to it. But I'm just going to talk to the 6 people I have in my mind, kind of thing, over this next couple weeks. I guess we'll say as a timeline. Probably I can. Yeah, I'm going. I mean, it depends on everyone's availability because I don't want to just ask over a text. I'd much rather take the time to talk to them face to face about this kind of thing for the scope of this. So yeah, I might not put like a hard number on that, but I can say for as far as people to talk to, but I will for sure say that I can talk to everybody and have an in-depth conversation with them and be able to come back to you with a clear sense of who we have and how many hours we have for people to do tasks within 2 weeks for sure. That should be, I'm going to write that down. What is today? Monday the 14th, so the fucking 21st, 28th. We'll just kind of put that as a deadline in writing. Other metrics. Come up with number of videos to be created. Yeah, so let me do that. I think that the appropriate place to start would be just thinking in my head about what content there is, what there is to go through, and kind of where everything is at. I think we could easily, mostly, just for the video's sake, and we can refine this later on perhaps as needed. But just roughly, I really think that starting with YouTube and the long form videos, we could easily release one a week. We could easily achieve the goal of releasing one video a week. Perhaps even 2, because I forgot that among just the podcasts, we can chop up the things within that and have the shorts or whatever it's called. We'll kind of figure out the name. But considering those, all the old content you have, I'm going to come back to the idea that I think I talked about before with the vault videos anyways, some of the older stuff. I really think it'd be more appropriate to try to hold on to that stuff for as long as possible.
I think that's...
and kind of just release it as like more of like candy for the future audience to see a look into the past. There are some of those things that I know you've recorded, and this will be kind of what I'll come to this conclusion the more of the content I sift through and look at, as far as, okay, do I think this would work to post now and on what channel and on what sort of timeline? But roughly, I do think there is a good amount of stuff in there that I think would be good to just start getting out, as far as some of the content you've made and some of the planning some of the, I guess, some of the plans you've set forth in these videos and recordings and some of your updates. Like, I think those things could get out sooner rather than later. But I don't want to hard commit to doing like any more than, I guess for now, like 2 of those long videos a week, because I don't want to put out too much old stuff until, like, I do, as much as there is old stuff.
How about this? I'm going to interject because I think this is probably good, but I think you're kind of just working through this
Yeah,
right
I'm
now.
more just thinking out loud. Yeah, it's not really anything.
So why
hard.
don't we? There's no wrong answers.
Yeah, for sure.
But I think maybe what we can do is like if we can get through this and put down some numbers.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, dude.
Because not to necessarily I don't want to cut off your thought process,
No, totally.
But I don't necessarily.
It really is just me thinking. It's I have no fucking clue, really.
For sure.
No wrong answers. Yeah, dude. I mean, as far as right now, I kind of just want to pick one of those arbitrary values and stick to it, kind of like you're saying, even if it feels totally arbitrary.
And and like I said,
but I want to do it on a per platform basis too, kind of thing.
Okay, so why don't we do that? Okay, so let's dive into that. So next steps is talk with all the crews, but you wanted to basically have a per platform breakdown?
Yes, absolutely. Of quantity of posts and what kind of posts on each platform.
Breakdown. Per platform breakdown of quantity. Cool. And estimated. I'm just going to put.
And just to make it easy for now, I really think too, like, no matter what the channel is, I think, on both channels, on all the platforms on each channel, probably just stick to the same numbers on both kind of thing. Like 2 posts a day on TikTok on both Giddy, Pessimist, and SIRREL kind of thing.
And the other thing too on this part, we could probably focus probably could focus on SIRREL.
Okay. Yeah.
And these are some of these things too, where like, these are just my thoughts, too, but, those are the ones, and cause actually something we haven't even really talked about necessarily, and thrown in there, but I do want to re-record the insurance videos that are going to go out for the educational content.
Yeah. And in doing that, I want to get in the habit of doing any of those recordings with you that aren't like just basic journal updates for the Giddy Pessimist. I'd much rather start doing the Alex Hormozy level of like,
yep, exactly,
coming and setting it up and doing it really high production value, exactly, for SIRREL at least.
Yep, exactly. And that's the type of stuff that I would really like you to, I would kind of like you to get this other stuff figured out and delegated so that we can really focus on creating the new content.
Yeah. And you have, I know in the case of Hormozy, he and the team kind of collaborate on the ideas of the videos and stuff. I'm happy to come up with ideas for SIRREL and stuff too, as far as topics. Yeah. I'm sure you already have a million of them though.
I would say for the time being, like let's get a handle on everything that needs to be done.
Yeah.
So this is kind of the part is I want you to kind of put on the hat of manager a little bit, get some people in place that can take care of these certain things, and then we'll really dive into that because I have a lot of general ideas, but again, this is literally one of the things where it's like, okay, I have these ideas, but this is again like not my, this is something I do want to have control on, but soon enough, as soon as I teach somebody kind of like, hey, these are the topics we want to talk about. This is how we want to talk about it. This is how we get scripts.
Yeah.
That's not, I think this is well within the realm of other people that are more competent than I.
For sure. Yeah. Yeah. No, dude. I mean, yeah, it's going to be, I hear what you're saying about like the stepping out completely sort of thing, but I think it is going to be a little bit more gradual perhaps than that, because it's like it's gonna
have but recognizing that my point of like on some of these I totally agree, but I'm also got to learn what that looks like, because like yes, I need to be here present, but at the same time too, I think a lot of the questions now are like, dude, great question, you figure that out.
Yeah, right.
Do I want this or that? Should we do it? Great question.
Yeah,
figure it out.
Fuck you, figure it out. Yeah.
I hope that turns out to be a good clip.
Yeah, I think it will.
So that's really, and then again, and I know that I am kind of taking an extreme look at this, but I actually don't think that it's necessary.
That's where Hormozy says, he's like, yeah, it is pretty extreme.
It is.
But I want to make an extreme amount of money. So it is extreme. Like that's the reality.
And there are so few things that I think that really that are my unique ability. And it's like, I just want to focus on that, and everything else that people are more capable and competent of doing, like just Let's do it.
Yeah.
And looking at this whole thing, like everything, all of the plans that I have, there's almost none of that where I was like, I got to do this.
Yeah.
So that's kind of this big transition that I'm at is like, okay, so yeah, stepping back of like, yeah, this is what needs to be done. So somebody do it.
Yeah. Right.
So
I get that.
Yeah.
So yeah, man, as far as re-recording those, yeah, for SIRREL, you said, right?
Yeah, and I will, like I said, once I get this, dude, I came to this kind of conclusion. I mean, it's been growing, but this was basically 2 days ago of like, okay, I got to make some extreme moves on like delegating. Once I get this, I have to basically remove myself from content creation and even thinking about
other than actually talking to the camera.
Other than actually talking.
Yeah.
And there are definitely some steps that are going to need to be done in between then and now, but this is kind of my
sooner
big...
you can get out, the better.
Exactly.
Like,
and this is kind of my big attempt of like, I need to get this off my mind.
Yeah.
I need to get this off my to-do list.
Yeah.
And you're just, and
and that's what I'm supposed to be here for, right?
And it's just, it's not, it's also, it's super humbling and scary and exciting because it's like, it's just so simple of like, why the fuck wouldn't you have the guy that's trained to do this stuff, that wants to do it, that has all of the equipment, that has all of the experience? It's like, just let the dude do the damn job.
Yeah. And then worst case scenario, it doesn't work out, you fire the fuck.
Yeah.
Like, just get them out.
Dude,
There's other people.
It's like
there's a
worst
million
case scenario is what happened is that's nothing.
Yeah.
And it's like, that's so, so literally on all of these, I'm trying to, as much as I possibly can, I'm trying to recognize the very small parts that I can play in these things and really trying to err on that side. Literally flip-flopping back from this like delegation to abdication. And it's essentially like, I guess I'm falling on the side of abdication at this point of like, hey, I'm here to help you, but like you are competent. You've got skills. I'm here to help. I'll do what I can, but like you're better at this. So just do it.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. No, I totally get that. I mean, yeah, that's just the reality, the nature of it. It's going to have to be.
Yeah. And it finally have accepted that of like, got to put people in place, but the rate at which I'm doing it and the way that I'm approaching it of like, oh, you can do a little more. No. Yeah. No, we're going to, and I'm sure, maybe the pendulum's swinging too far on the other side, but it's like, I got to try this. And I think you can fucking swim. Right. I know you can. I feel
pretty, get the fuck in
kicking
there.
You into the deep end.
Go for it.
So next steps, I've got talk with all recruits, per platform breakdown of quantity of posts, and I just put like probably weekly.
Right.
Okay, I'm trying to think. Yeah, because I mean, literally, my entire goal of this is to basically get rid of all of my responsibilities. Right. So it feels really odd for me in this to be like, I don't have any next steps.
No, dude, not when it comes to content. It should be per platform breakdowns of quantity of posts weekly.
And actually, I will come up with a list of videos that need to be recorded. I would say, because
that you know of right now.
Yeah, because that's actually the other thing too that I've realized, and one of these things, because I kind of had this really like, and actually kind of happened in this conversation, or maybe right prior to it, like, I'm so far away from like the EI approach and telling people about it and teaching people about it. Like, I've been mentioning it, but it's like, it's like, oh, the EI approach, and then the Giddy Pessimist, and then SIRREL, and then the CRM, and then the onboarding, and then the marketing, and then the content creation. And it's like, wait a minute, I am not even close. And like, so some of this stuff, like literally the next step from that funding video that I had was like getting my audiobook out. Yeah. And I was like, that is something I need to be doing. Right. That is one of these things. So that's kind of what I'm like stepping way, 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 way back. Yeah. And so, there's a lot of this new content that I want to be creating. And I think that's probably something that I can do in this step right now. Yeah. Maybe, again, thinking out loud.
Yeah. Well, I mean, it's that same Mr. Beast thing of like, no matter what, I have to be in front of the camera. Yeah. Like, I'm the whole, so like.
And that's a weird thing to kind of accept.
Yeah. It's like, we can't really hit record unless I'm in front of it kind of thing. So yeah, it is very much like there's always that constraint, but it's also, I think we've talked about this idea before, but like sometimes it's good to put constraints in place. Like even if they seem arbitrary or artificial or, out of nowhere. It's like
Yeah.
you just created something, so at least you have some kind of parameters to work
Yep.
within, so it doesn't feel like you're just, I don't know what the fuck to do. Like,
Yeah.
you just, even if it just feels like it has no meaning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do you think there are any other next steps that feel important? And quite frankly, these next steps, I think, are only, I mean, we could probably talk in a day or two.
Yeah, for sure. Like we can definitely touch base as often as needed, going forward. The next big things that I'm going to come to you with are probably the breakdowns of what type of content I think need to be made, and how much of it, and, yeah. And because realistically, like, a lot of the content can be used on multiple platforms. And if it's my responsibility to get them out as well for right now, like, that's totally fine. I just need either access to the CRM or all the login information individually for all the platforms and stuff.
For sure.
Which is, again, I'm totally fine.
No. Let me put that down. Get you. Yeah.
And then the other big thing I need to make sure I have from you is all of the content that there is, even if it's all unorganized. Like, I just need to see, I just need to see the entire battlefield kind of thing. And I know you copied me some of it, but if there's things that you're still sitting on that, like, I don't have and is invisible to me, I'm just going to make plans without it kind of thing. It's not like, if it's not at the table, it's not going to be
So do you, and I can get you everything, because there are still some stuff, like, I've given you basically all the stuff that I've recorded
that's important
for the business.
Okay.
But for, like, the Giddy Pessimist,
Right.
so, like,
yeah,
there's still stuff that I started recording in, like, 2018.
Okay. Which is like
hiking. This is like the personal stuff, like hiking stuff that I.
Yeah, I mean that stuff. Yeah, probably. I mean, yeah, that stuff definitely would be good to have too. Again, just so I can see the entire landscape of content that there is already, because I don't want to be like, if we're gonna keep recording stuff, which I do want to keep doing, keep adding to it, and then just force myself to sort through it. I just want to see what the pile is. So
I have
a
whole other hard drive that I haven't even cracked into.
Sweet.
Because it was.
The next ask I have of you, I'll wait till you're done writing, because this is somewhat of an important one. I think if you're down, buy a couple of hard drives.
Oh yeah.
To keep all this shit on.
Okay.
And I can send you links to the ones, but I think ideally I keep one, you keep one. That way, in case of a fire, there's always content for both, especially for the SIRREL stuff. And I don't know, this is something we could kind of figure out together, but like, maybe it's like, and I don't know, because maybe there's overlap, but I was going to say, like, a hard drive for Giddy Pessimist, a hard drive for SIRREL content, and then I have same thing. And then we just have perfect copies of each other, and it's always a working copy of everything.
I love it.
So I can send you links to that, and if you can order 4 of those things or something, that way we each have 2 for each platform, and then I can at least give those to somebody, or I can do it myself. But it's like, we have a master place to store everything and start organizing it.
Okay. I like that.
Yeah.
Okay.
That would be a huge first step to be able to take.
Perfect.
So that somebody can delegate stuff, and I can help you as far as like getting it set up on your end so you can access it at any time. But the cloud, I feel like, is just not the place to do that. It's just the place for quick, convenient things to be uploaded. And this stuff, like sharing files, it'll just be like, for now, since we're not working in different countries or states, like, I'm just going to come to your place and get any recordings, and vice versa, dude. And like I said, this little toaster thing that I have over here, it's like the perfect device. That's probably the type of hard drive I'll send you a link to, because they're the most reliable and fastest. And they are like 10 terabytes if you want. But honestly, I think the best thing is to like get each one of those for another year.
Yeah.
And we can get those cases for them, label them. Like, this is just the correct way of doing it.
Yeah.
And that particular device, you can stick 2 of those things in at once and hit one button and it copies everything over. And then we can just always have, ideally, copies of all the content. And honestly, like my goal for it is not for you to even ever access that hard drive. You just have it on your shelf in case mine corrupts or something.
Yeah.
Because I know that's one of those things, thinking about Ian specifically being the HR person, like especially for SIRREL and legally having to retain advertisements for 4 years. I know that exact number now. By law, I have to have it for 4 years.
Dude,
we should both have advertisements of everything we make for SIRREL in case we breach something. In case the director comes down, because I know he can't prosecute people, but he can order cease and desist.
I'm so glad you went through that test.
There's a lot. Oh, dude, and the other thing I have right here on my laptop that I could actually give you now if you want it, because I think this will fall in the realm of your responsibilities for hiring and recruiting agents and stuff. But you had talked about for recruits. I saved PDFs and organized from the Excel class that I did all of the chapter summaries, all of the glossaries of all the key terms and terminology for insurance for somebody. I don't know how often you're going to be dealing with recruits or that'll be a thing at all in this, but I have a nice folder with 30 PDFs of all the concepts of health and life insurance.
Nice.
Saved.
Beautiful.
Because you could keep internally somewhere.
You know what else that's also beautiful for?
Me?
Informational content creation.
Yeah, exactly. And that was my main thing. I was like, oh, we could do a topic on fucking annuities for people age 65 and under.
This is exactly kind of, and you already took, and I don't know if we talked about it. This was kind of, and without looking at it, this was kind of what I was hoping somebody would do when they went through this system. It's like, let's take all the notes and let's, you know, because this is actually a huge aspect of the
before
business.
My shit expires in a couple weeks, I was like, go through and download all this shit. I even took like 1 million screenshots of every page, but I think that was probably a little overkill. But yeah, at the very least, like, dude, we could make content of all educational content of all of these things for all these concepts within health and life.
Yeah. Okay.
So if there's a place, do you want me to just send that to you?
Yes, we can do that.
For sure. And do you need help organizing, like, these hard drives that I'm talking about, just to put a cap on that, is what I imagine using exclusively for content. So as far as like internal documents and stuff like that for SIRREL, I know you have the Google Drive and stuff set up. I don't know to what extent you need help or would want something to.
Let's deal with this. Seems a little off topic at the moment.
That's fine.
That seems like another.
That one thing is just what I knew I wanted to bring up to you for content creation purposes.
For sure.
Just to have for recruits and shit.
Yeah, for sure. Let's definitely. I mean, I appreciate all this stuff, but let's. I think we've tackled a shit ton today. If these are things that are super, super necessary, we can tackle them next time. But I would say, and my mind is pretty fried at this point.
No worries. Same.
So let's just go over, if there's anything else, but I'll go over next steps. Talk to recruits, platform breakdown, list of videos that need to be recorded. That's mine. Get you the login information. It's mine. Create content from, get all content from old hard drives and then the new hard drives.
Yes. Yeah. I'll send you links to our hard drives that I think would be best. And then, once those are in place and they're nice and blank and fresh, fresh, infinite amounts of storage, then it's like, okay, now that I have all the content, I can either do it myself or, like I said, delegate it to somebody to just start organizing that. Just so we can be fully caught up and have a nice, clean visual of all the content for both Giddy, Pessimist, and SIRREL. And I'll kind of make those decisions for now as far as which types of content I think belong in those channels, because I know that's something we've been kind of going back and forth on figuring out. So I'll kind of just make the final call on that, and then we can obviously, always change things as you see fit later on. But as far as which content belongs on which drives. But I think, again, making them as distinct as possible, but leaving room for overlap would be great.
All right, dude. I think that's it.
For sure. Thanks for listening.
Thanks.
There you go.
All right.